Last season, it was once again Christian Challenger to take top honors in the championship, as well as breaking record upon record. With the dawn of a new season, could we see the dawn of a new championship challenge to the once and future king? We won't have long to wait to find out the answer as we get ready to watch round one of the Majors Series Americas region, and you'll see it all here live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm DJ Clark, and joining me in the booth tonight is Adam Lindgren and Reese Gardner. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We're here tonight to tackle the fearsome 2 hours of the Glen. And considering this track has just been rescanned and redone, let's head over to our GSRC track guide for a brief refresher.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
Well, Adam, there it is, the newly profiled, newly fancy Watkins Glen International Circuit. But what else can you tell us about this absolute classic?
Well, Watkins Glen is a legendary track among iRacing drivers with its powder blue barriers and challenging sectors. This 3.45 mile or 5.55 kilometer 11-turn boot layout includes quite a few exciting changes this build. In their first round, the Major Series will be tackling this course in the Dallara LMP2 and a smattering of GT3 machines. The Dallara is the car of choice tonight with its relatively easy-to-drive high downforce frame and rear-wheel drive, where the LMP2 comes into trouble is across the newly reprofiled curbs through the inner loop, which can cause the LMP to come unsettled and spin its rear tires if the drivers aren't careful. Both the LMP2s and GT3s will benefit from that newly paved runoff, but the GT3s may find themselves using it more today as they find themselves far outweighted as far as class entries. Their struggles will be mostly in the boot itself, with changing elevations in the braking zones threatening to unseat the car as they try and hold their line with the LMPs racing all around them. Multiclass here has been interesting throughout the 2 other regions, with that extra runoff being very helpful. Danger zones are into the S's and the inner loop, with the best places to effective pass being turn 1, the inner loop, and the heel of the boot. And maybe a change of scenery for the first round of the Majors, DJ, but I expect the intensity to be even hotter this season.
As do I, Adam. I'm looking forward to it. And as we get going, we'd like to tell you that today's race is sponsored by the Majors Garage. It's home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com. Or use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. We have a link in the description below that applies directly to our special offer. And as always, the Major Series has a charity that they are highlighting here tonight, and that is the National MS Society. Founded in 1946 by Sylvia Laurie, the National MS Society brings the MS movement together and turns our power and passion into real results. What began as one woman's vision and commitment is now a nationwide organization leading the global change to create a world free of MS through accelerating cures through global leadership, improving access to personal, affordable, high quality MS healthcare, empowering people affected by MS to solve everyday challenges, and strengthening the MS movement through more and deeper connections. Now, we also, before we get to the action on track, want to run you through the championship from last year. And in the pro division, well, to the surprise of just about nobody, it was Christian Challoner taking victory there by 90 points over Justin Morton. It was a pretty close battle from there back, with Travis Warling only 10 points back of Morton and Joshua Chin only about 7 points back of Warling. Kevin Hill was about 10 points back of them. And so a pretty close championship if you exclude Christian, and that was his second championship in the Americas region on the trot. So very, very close stuff there. But we also had a teams championship, Adam.
Absolutely. Forge Racing Pro took the team's championship over Kinetic America's Pro 2, which were very hotly contested. 169 points may not look like a lot, but that's actually quite close for these drivers. And Dog Bear Red, not too far behind either in that third position, just eking out Evolve Sim Sports in that final round. UDOC's Lola made a late season charge to make themselves up to that 5th position, putting UDOC's onto the top 5 for the first time that season in the final round alone. So very, very interesting there for sure. But Reese, it looks like you've got the legends for us today.
I do. The Legends Championship for drivers over 50 years of age. Hey guys, hello everyone. Kevin Hill was the one who came out on top last season for Evolve Sim Sports. The Dog Bear Red pair of Brian Barnes and Wayne Hutchison, very close on points, only 10 separating them. And it was quite the gap to Brian McGreevy, and then an even bigger gap to Jimbo Pfeiffer. But Kevin Hill, he'll be looking to uphold that Legends title this season.
He will indeed. We also had a sportsman championship for drivers with a little bit lower of I rating out there. And then you can see in that, Ozzie Milwin was able to hold off a 12-point advantage over Brian Halleck, with Chris Sherburne coming in third with an even 30 points back, holding off Joey Haynes and Maurice Gomillon only 45 points back. So very tight there in the sportsman. Some great, great battles all the way across the field throughout the entirety of last year and last season. But enough about the past. Let's focus on today. Adam, you've got today's race details ready for us.
Absolutely. It is the 2 hours of the Glen, so therefore we're going to be racing this for about 2 hours. We've got LMP2s and GT3s. LMP2s is a single car class. The GT3s, you can choose from any of the GT3 machines in iRacing. It'll be interesting to see who showed up today. We also have a 40 incident limit, and that's actually going to come into play because some of this paved runoff actually includes incidents that you get for going out there, so that'll be very interesting. The scoring is based on the classes, not your overall finishing position. So if you win the class, you win maximum points on the day. We also have other regions winners, which are Blake Nick in the LMP2 and International, Sam Harper in the GT3, and then we have Jamie Conway and Dallas Pataska in the European region in the LMP2 and GT3, and they also get one spare car as well, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers work and who's going to join those other 4 drivers as winners today.
It will be indeed. And as we start to slow down here a little bit in practice, well, slow down, meaning the clock is starting to come to an end. It's some new names up at the top. Fernando Texiera and Ethan Osowski, both topping the charts, with Justin Morton sitting in third, and that is for the LMP2s. But back in those GP3s, well, surprise of nobody, it's Christian Challoner leading Mark Stevenson with Dick Muller and Nick Ottinger there. And as they work their way around this outer loop, Adam, you talked a little bit about how that loop, the profile changes to that inner loop can really throw some drivers off.
Yeah, it's actually the curbing that's been the biggest change. There's a lot wider curbing, but it's got a little bit of a pitch at the center of it, which is built so that the drivers try to avoid going over that because it actually pitches the car up off of its wheels by going over that curbing. And especially in the LMP2s, that can upset the under tray downforce that you're getting, and that can make the car do some very, very funky things. So it'll be very fascinating to see which drivers have practiced tackling that at full speed. We're going to take a look at Fernando Teixeira as he's going to go through it right here. And there you can see, trying to avoid that curbing as best as possible on the inside, because that's where it's going to upset you the most.
Indeed, in recent terms of these GT3s, they're known for having a little bit more pliable suspension, being able to bounce around a little bit more, but when these LMP2s come up behind them, they come up with a full head of steam, and it can really, really not even just disrupt a hot lap that you're out, but disrupt battles, and it's going to be a real challenge for them to keep everything on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Watkins Glen, as we highlighted also in the track guide, there's a lot of fast corners at this circuit, particularly right here in the second last turn through the carousel as well and through the S's. And the LMP2s, being big downforce generating machines, carry a ton more speed through those corners than the GT3 cars do. So from an LMP2 perspective, it's all about trying to make sure that you pass cleanly, probably saving passes for the exit if you come up on a GT3 in the middle of a turn. But for the GT3s, they'll be looking in their mirrors more often than not, I would assume. And considering that there's 28 LMP2s and only 15 GT3s in this session, well, they're going to be doing that a lot, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. And interesting to note here that we're seeing a lot of the BMWs being favored out in the field of those GT3s. Behind them, we've got a smattering of Porsches, only 2 Ferraris, and then it looks like 1 Audi and 1 McLaren. So the Lamborghini and the Mercedes obviously kind of getting left out of the pecking order there. And Reese, do you think there's a reason for that? I mean, the BMW seems to be favored pretty all the way around, and the Porsche being one of the newer cars, definitely one that people like. But I would have thought we would have seen a little bit more disparity here.
Yeah, I would have too. I commentated the international region for our friends at SimSpeed TV yesterday, or on Saturday rather, and most drivers were actually in the Audi up at the top of the field. It was Audi and Lamborghini at the front, and there was only 1 BMW from what I could see. So yeah, it's very interesting to see the choices that the drivers have made here in the Americas region. I'm not too sure what the thinking behind car choice is, but GT3 balance of performance has been updated for the Daytona 24 this weekend. So I think the drivers slightly altering their choices may be based on that.
Well, we'll have to see just how much that plays out a little bit as we watch the 147. That's Nathan Dowd working his way through the 90. And Adam, another one of the places that has been reprofiled here are those exit curves on the exit of turn 1. It used to be that you could run that car as wide as the day is long. Now, running over those curves can hurt you a little bit.
Absolutely. It really upsets the car a lot, and I think a large reason, as we pan the camera over to take a look, a large reason for that is just because of how the curve has been reprofiled. It really kind of launches you up over there. So what you want to do if you do go wide is try and dodge that curve altogether and come back on at the last possible moment. Now that can cause some big consternation when it comes to the multi-class aspect of this track, because if you try and do that, you actually end up rejoining into the line of a driver who's exiting the corner and is staying on the track more or less. So it can be very dangerous doing that, and we've seen that cause some incidents in a couple of the other regions.
Yeah, we have indeed, and so hopefully we want to be keeping incidents down here as much as possible. As we watch Justin Morton, the Forge racing driver, Forge, one of the forces here, flirting a little bit with that outside curve. They were one of the forces, specifically on ovals, looking very, very strong last year over the course of the season, and picking up a good amount of the draft there. You know, it's a road course. We don't often necessarily think about sort of an oval type draft here, but Reese, that's certainly what you can get on the run from the 90 all the way up to the inner loop.
For sure. In the international region, one of the things that really surprised me was how effective the draft was in the LMP2 class. You get the right run through the S's and you can absolutely breeze past a rival coming into the inner loop. So I think we'll be seeing quite a bit of that, particularly in the opening stages of the race. Once we get past the first lot of GT3 traffic, when the LMPs come around to lap the GT3s, we'll see them space out a little bit more, but I'm expecting a lot of 2 and 3 car battles as, whoa, goodness me, that might have been a slight mess up of braking there. Got to be careful into that turn in particular when going through traffic.
Yeah, you certainly do. And Adam, for these LMP2 drivers, as we tick over onto the clock, and that point is going to have to wait because we are ready to go racing. And it is time to roll through our grid here. This grid was determined before the race started. So nothing to worry about in that regard. You're not going to see qualifying out here. As lining up in pole position for those LMP2s, it's going to be Eric Smith, followed by Arthur Figueroa with Ethan Osowski in P3 and Andrew Waring in P4. Tom Abramitis will be lining up 5th, followed by Alessandro Texera with Ozzie Milwain in 7th, Justin Morton in 8th, Carter Kundinger in 9th, and Little Train Lion Castillo in 10th.
Starting out of 11th in the LMPs is going to be Scott Corbin. He's going to have Joey Haynes starting alongside him. It's Brendan Foster starting in lucky 13th alongside Liam Quinn. Austin Espity in 15th alongside the number 58 of Justin Kirby. Then we got Nick Kuhn and Vincent Lerbier 17th and 18th. Trevor Hunt and Brent Kirby are rounding out the top 20 in the LMPs, Adam.
Yeah, then we got 21st being Brian McGreevy. Daniel B. Johnson's going to line up in 22nd, with 23rd being Wayne Hutchison. Lynn Kitchlow is going to line up in 24th, with Aaron Roos in 25th. William Fletcher is going to line up 26th. 27th being Jason Wallet. Then we got Rodrigo Luzowski, your final driver to set a qualifying time for the LMP2s in 28.
In that GT3 category, it's going to be Christian Challoner, followed by Kevin Hill, with Mark Stevenson and Jimbo Pfeiffer behind them. Nick Ottinger will line up in P5, followed by Brian Halleck, with Nathan Dowd and Dick Muller behind them. Then it's going to be Zachary Brown, followed by Jeff Schmeier, rounding out your top 10. Reese?
Yes, and then we've got the final 4 drivers: Brian Barnes, Ryan Steele, Rob Powers, and Jonathan Medeiros rounding out our field. There's 43 cars here, as I highlighted before, 15 GT3s and 28 Dallara P217 LMP2s. That's going to be quite a packed class, and I'm expecting some big action.
It's going to be a lot of action out on track, and I think specifically looking upwards near the front of the field on this long pace lap, that 90 can be very, very tricky. It's a deceptive corner as you work your way around. It can definitely catch some drivers out, even with that long runoff, Adam. We've seen a lot of problems.
Absolutely, we have seen a lot of problems even with the long runoff, and it can cause some issues. And one of the places that I'm definitely looking for, as far as the multi-class action is concerned, even with only 15 GT3s, it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they can keep it clean through the inner loop. I think the LMP2s are going to be coming, as you said, pre-race, coming with a serious head of steam up there, and it's going to be causing some serious issues for those drivers if they're not careful.
It is indeed, and obviously that's not even taking into consideration once we get around to the time where we're going to be dealing with lap traffic, which is always a big problem here at the Glen. It's easy to get by, it's easy to carry momentum, but it always seems to be, for one reason or another, there is just an easy way to get into a problem.
Yeah, very easy to get into problems here around Watkins Glen. I'm just watching them go around their pace lap at the moment into the boot. And we mentioned how difficult the boot can be for the GT3 cars, but there's plenty of opportunities there for the LMPs to do a little over-under on the exit. If the GT3s are in a battle, though, well, I mean, I cast my mind back to International once more. We saw quite a few incidents where an LMP tried to split 2 GT3s, try and go down the middle of them. Unfortunately, I mean, Watkins Glen is a pretty wide track, but, you know, it's very easy to run out of space around here with how fast the corners are.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's you try to go 2 or even 3 wide, specifically coming up through the final couple of corners. Very narrow, specifically looking at the third to last corner. They're rising up over the edge. It may be a very wide corner, but at the same time, you try to get 2 cars through there and you can find yourself in a whole world of trouble with somebody being offline, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody being offline is going to cause you a big heap of trouble, especially because you want to maintain as much speed up through that section as you possibly can. As you dip down towards the heel of the boot, then you want to try and take a little bit of that runoff if you're the LMP2s, because that new runoff has really afforded you the opportunity to go out there and retain a little bit of speed. It actually sets you up well to take yourself into the final little bit of the boot that exits back out onto the NASCAR oriented track, and that gives you a good opportunity to give an option to run towards the front of the field with a little bit more pace coming into that sector.
Indeed, as they work their way through the final corner right now, getting ready to go green. We apologize for the technical problems, but we'll walk you through this radio style as Eric Smith gets off to a big jump over Arthur Figueredo. Able to get a good run there over the rest of the field. They're side by side in the back there. That's Ethan Osowski.
Full contact.
Contact between the two, as we've got a little bit of a kerfluffle there in the back. But what about the start of the GT3, Adams?
GT3s was a very contentious start between Kevin Hill and Christian Challoner. Kevin Hill at the inside of the penultimate corner, but Christian Challoner able to set it deep onto the first corner, and is able to do so still side by side between Mark Stevenson and Jimbo Pfeiffer there in the third position, but they're going to sort it all out as they start to go through the S's pretty clean for the 15 GT3s.
Meanwhile, we've got a car around. That's Justin Morton, our onboard driver, who we were happy to show you. Lots of the
huge.
LMP2s. Yeah, that's Joe. I see Joey Haynes. I see Austin Espedy. Massive impact there, Reese.
Yeah, it looks to me like, a bit of, it was actually all started by Justin Morton spinning by himself. We talked about those curbs at the inner loop leading up to the start of this event. Morton caught one of those curbs, and it caused everyone to concertina into him. I'm seeing 4, maybe 5 LMP2s off, and into the carousel as well, a car in the wall, and that looked like Justin Kirby. He's going to have big suspension damage.
Doesn't look like anybody's towing DJ, so I think we're going to be okay as far as keeping the drivers going. The last of the LMP2s were just about 2 seconds ahead of Christian Challoner as they entered the boot. Christian Challoner, the leader of the GT3s. Liam Quinn, right now last in the GT4s. And Scott Corbin's gone around in the LMP2s as well.
Lots of problems here early on for your LMP2 drivers. It is only 88 degrees track temperature right now, so a little bit chilly. Oh, don't back that up. Don't back that up. Oh, that was very close. That was very lucky there that Scott Corbin did not cause a bigger incident for those GT3s.
Scott Corbin now mired back in the 13th position in the GT3 class. He's trying to work his way forward. Austin Espedy comes into the pits from the LMP2s, so he's going to be our first driver to try and take a little bit of a repair there for him. So he's down there. It looks like Scott Corbin's trying to recover himself back up towards the front of the field, but looking like it's going to be a little bit tougher. Looks like Vincent Laherbier has made a pass on Joey Haynes in the LMP3s as they've started going up the carousel.
Has indeed, and that's going to be able to get him on by. I think Haynes is having some sort of problem there. Yes, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
I see a big plume of smoke. That is Haynes off through the inner loop.
Yeah, and he made the same kind of mistake that Morton made on lap 1. He just caught the curb at the second apex of the chicane, and that sent him right around. I mean, I saw in International tons of LMP2s going over those curbs and going airborne, but man, in these early stages with this cold track, it's playing havoc with the LMP2s.
Yeah, and those tires on the LMP2s, they take about a lap and a half or 2 to really come up to temperature and be effective. So drivers have to be very careful. I know I have made that mistake many a time. As we are back live, and that is your leader, Eric Smith, holding out an advantage of about 2 seconds over Arthur Figueredo.
It's a great battle for second place in GT3 at the moment. I mean, in both of our classes, the leader has quite the advantage, but Kevin Hill is leading this battle with Jimbo Pfeiffer, Nick Ottinger, Mark Stevenson, Nathan Dowd, and Dick Mueller all in a line here. And the drivers will have to focus on getting into a rhythm here, try and consolidate their positions, because it won't be long until these guys start getting lapped by the LMP2s.
It won't be long at all. The LMP2s are just now entering the boot as the GT3s are just now crossing the start-finish line. So there you see a little bit of a poke out from Nick Ottinger as he's trying to take a position. But it looks like Eric Smith, yeah, you can see him right there. Now we're going back to Mark Stevenson and Nick Ottinger. Ottinger trying to push his way forward, riding all the curb on the way up towards the S's.
Yeah, and he made the same kind of mistake that Morton made on lap 1. He just caught the curb at the second apex of the chicane, and that sent him right around. I mean, I saw in International tons of LMP2s going over those curbs and going airborne, but man, in these early stages with this cold track, it's playing havoc with the LMP2s.
Yeah, really getting very aggressive with that curb, and you are able to be a little bit more aggressive in these GT3s. As here we ride on board with Ottinger. He's going to try to make that little bit of a move to the outside right now. It's him and Jimbo Pfeiffer in an absolute drag race going down the line into the boot, and there into the carousel. They are able to get it done. I'll get that corner name right eventually. That's the bus stop or the inner loop. But one way or the other, Nick Ottinger able to get the move done on Jimbo Pfeiffer.
Excellent move there, and if you're on the outside and ahead coming into the inner loop, then it's a wise decision for the driver behind to just let off the brakes a little early and let you go. But it looks like almost getting steamrolled is Jimbo Pfeiffer. Mark Stevenson had a little look up the inside of him there in his forged BMW as we have an LMP2 making their way through. That is the number 7 of Austin Espity. He has taken his fast repair after the initial carnage on lap 1 in the LMP2s, and he's wasting no time trying to get his way back up to his class.
It's so close between Nick Ottinger, Jimbo Pfeiffer, and Mark Stevenson as well. They're just nose to tail right now as they're bumper to bumper coming out of the boot. This is one of the closest battles we've seen in the GT3s. It's definitely the closest battle that's going on right now.
It certainly is. Ottinger just leading this long train of cars, about 5 back there. Ferraris, BMWs all mixed up there, and a Porsche to boot. So we'll have to see. This is really going to come down to the 90. This is where that major draft is going to come into play. Looks like everybody's able to get that a little bit okay through there. Looked like Mark Stevenson took a little bit of excess curbing, but I think that's going to set him up the best to try to make the move here on Jimbo Pfeiffer. He looks like he's got a lot of excess speed, Reese.
Yeah, indeed he does, but Pfeiffer has the advantage of the draft on Nick Ottinger, so he will be able to defend a bit, but the BMW pulls out. Mark Stevenson having a big look up the inside of the inner loop, cannot get the move done as things stand. That's one disadvantage of being in a train like that. You do get the benefit of the draft, but the driver in front of you does as well.
And I'm a little bit surprised there that the Audi of Nathan Dabb wasn't able to close in a little bit more with that side-by-side battle, but we continue to follow here. That 51 machine of Mark Stevenson just looking like he is absolutely hounding the back of that Ferrari. Really working it very hard.
Yeah, Fernando Teixeira, sorry guys, he's making a move for 5th in LMP2. Oh, he's just gotten up the inside of Carter Kundinger, and fortunately they were able to avoid making contact. Sorry for interrupting.
No, absolutely. That was a very sketchy moment there for Carter. He almost ran to the side there of Fernando, but was able to keep it going. But I was just going to say that Mark Stevenson's got to be a little bit careful in that BMW. He's actually using up a lot of tire right now trying to hang on to that position. But side by side once again between Carter Kundinger and Ethan Ozowski right in behind Fernando right now.
Yeah, these LMP2s are getting very feisty, and it looks like that Kundinger are doing a good job to hold off Ozowski. Going to try to dive it down to the inside of the heel. That has become a more pronounced passing zone as a result of that more runoff. Whoa. But you've got to be careful. Come on, boys. Don't get too sketchy here too early. Oh, banging doors and prototypes as they go into the penultimate corner.
It looks like Ozowski is going to get that done, but the light flashing there for Carter Kundinger, he is not too happy with that move and how aggressive
we need to go to the GT3s again. This 4th place is starting to get really hot. They're bump drafting on their way to the inner loop. Almost contact there between Dick Mueller and Mark Stevenson. My goodness, Nathan Drought just got absolutely shoved by Mark Stevenson past Jimbo Pfeiffer, and Jimbo lost 3 positions in 1 straightaway.
Oh my goodness gracious, we are bump drafting in GT3s, Adam. The Majors is back, and they are back with a vengeance. Here we go.
Brilliant racing so far. And oh dear, Mark Stevenson ran a little wide at the toe of the boot, also very wide for Jimbo Pfeiffer. He's actually carrying damage. Something has happened to the number 29 Ferrari, and he's been, actually the reason why he got steamrolled on the straight there, I think he caught the wall coming out of the final turn, and we've missed a huge incident there. Liam Quinn in the LMP2 was trying to make his way through on that battle, and there was contact. Quinn heavily into the pit wall. And that took out Jeff Schmeier too.
Oh, Well, some of the more familiar names here in the series getting put out early. We continue to watch here the 51 of Mark Stevenson as that battle continues now with Dick Mueller behind him. These GT3s finally looking like they're having a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, the GT3 is finally able to breathe just a little bit, like you said. Still very tight between Mark Stevenson and Dick Mueller as they're running up towards the S's right now. I think Dick Mueller's got a decent run. Let's see how much of a draft it's going to work there.
I think he's going to be a little bit far back on it, but yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to close in, but not exactly get it done going down into the inner loop. They are really starting to spread themselves out a little bit here more as that's going to go. We've got a great battle starting to shape up here in LMP2 as they have started to catch traffic.
Yeah, and Eric Smith has lost all of his advantage thanks to traffic. He came up on a GT3 battle in the S's. That's allowed Arthur Figueiredo and Ozzy Milwain to catch up to him. The top three in LMP2 now line astern as they're starting to come up to the battle we were looking at earlier. It's only Nathan Dowd and Mark Stevenson who are in that battle now with that contact, making sure that other cars in the battle were disadvantaged. Let's see what Eric Smith can do here to try and keep the 11 and the 14 behind.
Well, and that was a very aggressive move from Arthur Figueiredo there behind him, pulling out to the outside directly in front of Ozzy Milwain. I'm pretty sure that Milwain had to check himself up. Eric Smith able to pull out a gap here about 0.8 of a second. But this battle for P2, this is starting to look particularly spicy, Adam. They are really digging in here.
Absolutely, Ozzy Milwain does not want to let Arthur Figueiredo get away from him. He's going to try and possibly affect a pass into turn one. No, he thinks better of it, going past Kevin Hill, second place in the GT3s. Christian Challoner still another 4 seconds up the road from these two, but it looks like Ozzy lost a little bit of speed off of turn one, so that's going to mean he's going to be disadvantaged heading up the hill.
Yes, he is, and there you can see him trying to take a little bit of an alternate line, just trying to straighten out the run up the S's as much as possible, but that gap is going to expand out just a little bit more. Jumping back in the field, we have got a whole hornet's nest with Carter Kundinger and Ethan Azowski and Lionel Castillo. This is the battle back for P6. This is absolutely insane as they try to get their way around a number of cars.
Ethan
Azowski back, Reese. He's really battling it out with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great train here for sixth place, and just up ahead of them, Fernando Teixeira was making his way through on some GT3 traffic. He lost a little bit of time to these guys, but with GT3 leader Christian Challoner just up ahead of these guys, you see him just behind there. He's always had to go wide as Christian Challoner to let our LMP2 field through. It's all right, he can do that. He has got a massive advantage to the tune of about 5 seconds over the rest of the GT3 class.
Yeah, really into the surprise of nobody there. Christian Challoner out into the lead, letting those LMP2s buy the best that he can. Christian, obviously the double defending champion, the first back-to-back champion in the history of the majors in a single region. So Christian doing a fantastic job trying to take his crown for the third time on the trot. Got another nice little battle shaping up behind him, though. This is Kevin Hill and Nick Ottinger for second place in GT3, as that's going to be Ottinger trying to send it down to the inside of the 90, and he's got it done.
Good move from Ottinger to get himself by Kevin Hill. Able to get that done, but now Kevin Hill's chasing him up the S's, and this is going to be a good opportunity for Kevin Hill on Ottinger. They've got to look out, though, because Nathan Dowd's been really quick, and he's tucked in right behind them, having moved himself up from 7th up to 4th just in the last couple laps.
Well, and Adam, this presents a big question here, which is, do you want to get the move done into the 90 and present that opportunity for the draft, or is it better to hold back and try to just get the best run and get the pass done into the inner loop and prevent any sort of fight back?
I mean, my guess would actually be that you want to try and get it done in turn one, but make sure to push the guy offline enough that he can't get a good exit coming up the S's, because that's going to be where you're most susceptible. But if you can get the job done and stuff him going on the exit of one, then you've really got an opportunity to run away.
Well, it looks like there as this battle just kind of lays itself out a little bit more. A couple of more LMP2s working their way back on through. This battle is continuing on a little bit bit tighter there between the contenders as that Audi runs a little bit wider. That's Nathan Dowd on Kevin Hill. Nick Ottinger able to pull out a little bit, about 0.6 of a second. But as we've seen, the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh away. And as that 19 LMP2 comes in there, that's going to put him offline, and that's going to set us up for a very, very interesting couple of corners here, Reese.
Yeah, have a look at this now with Nick Ottinger having to face off against Kevin Hill and Nathan Dowd, who has really taken advantage of that LMP2 passing right on the back of Hill now, and late lunge on the brakes into turn one. That's definitely going to be an off track there for Nathan Dowd, but he's going to have to make way for the LMP2 of Aaron Ralphs. And in LMP2 news, Vincent Lerbier has gone for the pit lane very early, and we'll talk about this more in a bit, but I think he's trying to reverse engineer the strategy here. LMP2s, you can make it up to 25 laps on a tank if you fuel save, but regardless, it's probably going to be a 3-stop race in the LMP2s, with the final stop coming towards the end. Vincent Lerbier is doing the opposite. He's pitted right at the start.
Interesting. And so that is a bit of a strategy, I think, if you are offline a little bit, to be able to do a whole lot of anything. Continue to watch Vincent as he works his way around here. And now, Reese, in your opinion, what about tires? It's a 2-hour race. You can normally go on those 25 laps. Did you see a lot of times drivers taking tires, or is this going to be a single stint race?
Well, it's definitely going to be 3 stops at least in the LMP2s, and you'll probably want to take tires on one of those, because you can double stint tires in the LMP2. Triple stinting might be a bit of a long shot. The majority of drivers we saw taking their tire stop in the middle of the race, but we did see the LMP2 winner Blake Neck take his tire stop in his first stop. So there's going to be a little bit of variance there among the drivers in LMP2. There's plenty of ways it can go. Tires add 20 seconds to your pit stop time, though, so you have to be careful about when you take them, as we see Justin Kirby now in the pits.
And we've got to jump to the battle for P3 in GT3 between Nathan Dowd, Mark Stevenson, and Kevin Hill. This was all kinds of sideways coming through the 90. Very, very close stuff. They run line astern. That is, I believe, Daniel B. Johnson working his way by him. That is going to be a little bit of a poke out there to the outside for Mark Stevenson. He thought better of it. They're going to drop back into line. But now, as more and more of these LMP2s come by, this is going to try to break up that battle a little bit. Right now, it is Audi leading BMW, leading Porsche.
And Nathan Dowd still holding on to the top of this battle. He'd managed to get past Kevin Hill. Kevin Hill has lost a ton of positions so far. Not only was he passed by Nick Ottinger early on, but now he's lost the position to both Dowd and Stevenson, who's really rounded them up here as the LMP2s pick their way through. William Fletcher now going past Mark Stevenson. And it looks like Nathan Dowd isn't going to be held up too much by these LMP2s right up the inside into the heel of the boot.
Exactly. And just to note, those two LMP2s that were going by, that was Scott Corbin and William Fletcher. They are on different laps. Corbin is fighting his way back up through the field, so that was actually technically a pass for position. Now, these guys right now, Nathan Dowd trying to catch down to Nick Ottinger, who is about 2.3 seconds up the road from them in that Porsche of his, currently holding on to the second place position. So there you can see Ottinger, and way, way, way ahead of them is Christian Challoner, who has completely checked out of this race.
The lead battle in LMP2 is not over by any stretch. Eric Smith has continued to suffer a bit of bad luck in traffic, I imagine. He's got Arthur Figueiredo right behind him now. The gap last lap was 0.6 at the line. It's still around 0.5. So Figueiredo, what he needs to do here is try and stay within draft range of Eric Smith, who obviously has the pace advantage at the moment, but coming down the back stretch, as long as Figueiredo gets a good run here out of the 90, he'll be just within draft range and might be able to make a move when they come up to the next lot of traffic.
Exactly. And how much of this sort of multi-class battling is it really all about that thinking about strategy, thinking about how to do it as they look up the road? That's Ray Partridge and Jonathan Mierdos that they are closing in on. How much are you thinking about that as you are driving around in a battle like this, Reese?
Well, it depends. I mean, I spent many years driving LMP2s back when the HPD was the main LMP2 car in iRacing. God, I missed that thing. But that was one thing that I was always thinking about, as there is a big battle here. The number 2 of Lionel Callisto. He's trying to catch up to Carter Cunningham there. But it looks like a 2x2 battle, actually, with Teixeira and Osowski together just ahead of them. Yeah, I was thinking about it quite a bit, you know. When I'm in a battle, sometimes, you know, it's worth just waiting to pass a GT. And then, you know, if you have a more aggressive rival in front of you who puts himself in a compromising position in traffic, then you'll be right there to take advantage. I don't know how many drivers are going to be thinking about that at the moment. I think survival is just the goal here in the early stages. Things will be a little bit better after the pit stops when things space out.
Indeed, and Adam, we've got to jump back to that battle for P5 and GT3 because it is getting all kinds of spicy. We're in a nice little Triforce here as we ride up the corner. This is Stevenson, Mueller, and Hill.
Absolutely, and they're trying to sort it out as they head towards the inner loop. Who's going to give? Who's going to go? I don't know. It's going to be tight between the three of them as they tuck their way through there. Oh my goodness, so close between them as they exit the inner loop, now into the outer loop. You see Kevin Hill going a little bit wide. He's going to give an opportunity to Mark Stevenson if he wants to take a late breaker on the outside. He's going to give it a shot, but there's no grip out there, so he has to tuck in behind, tries to get the power down out, but that BMW just carries him off, almost loses it on the outside curve, but hangs on.
And that is going to open up a little bit of opportunity here for Dick Mueller to be able to think about trying to make a move as they work their way up through the toe. As I said, this reprofile especially has allowed for the heel to become an even more susceptible passing zone, but it doesn't look like anybody's going to be close enough. Also, just a quick note, it looks like Lynn Kinchlow has had a problem. We're trying to dive in on that. It looks like it is a self-spin for Kinchlow.
Yeah, it's a shame to see. But that's something that you'll probably see happening with the nature of the curbs around here now. As we ride on board in this battle on board the Dog Bear BMW. This has been a great three-way battle between these guys, and certainly looks like it's going to continue for the time being. Will there be a move here from Mark Stevenson? No, he's just way too far back coming into the 90.
No, actually, Dick Mueller made a nice dive into the 90, and he's got an opportunity here. Here comes our leader, Eric Smith, tucking in away. Arthur Figueroa's going to try and do the same here. This is the worst place to catch GT3s on track, but using an extra downforce, he's able to snake his way through. Dick Mueller still might have an opportunity into the inner loop if he wants to take it, but he looks like he's backing off and saving some fuel.
Well, and how much is that going to come into play here, Adam, for these GT3s? Obviously, they're going to have a little bit of a longer tank, we think, than the LMP2s, but at what point do you start thinking about saving that fuel? At what point do you start thinking about trying to extend that stop as much as possible? Another LMP2 getting aggressive.
That was Tom Abramitis making his way past another iRacing employee along with Christian Challoner. And these are all the LMP2s trying to cut their way through this battle. Very close between Ethan Osowski and Fernando Teixeira. Very, very close between them. This is definitely breaking up those GT3 battles. But honestly, DJ, if you haven't been thinking about fuel up to this point, it's a little late to do that on this particular stint. You might want to think about it again. That was contact between Fernando and Tom, or Ethan.
Oh, these drivers starting to get their elbows out here early in this race as we are just over 20 minutes down and still an hour and 36 to go. Plenty of time as these LMP2s work their way through the GT3s. This is getting even hairier, Reese.
Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed. Oh, pincer move from two LMP2s of Rodrigo Lisowski and Andrew Waring there on Mark Stevenson. Up the inside they get on Kevin Hill coming into the 90. Thank goodness they were able to escape with damage. In terms of strategy for the GT3s, I can provide a little bit of info. You do have the option of making it on a one-stop strategy if you save fuel, but I think the majority of the drivers will be going for that one-stop strategy because the amount of time you save pitting twice certainly cancels out. Both strategies are pretty much the same in terms of time, so with the amount of adjustments the GT3 drivers are going to have to make when LMP2s are passing them, they'll be saving a lot of fuel doing that, so I would expect one stop for the majority of the GT3s personally, but I could be wrong.
Well, there you go. Our expert, Reese Gardner, giving us some good insight as this battle really continuing on between Evolve Sim Sports and Forge, two of the big names here in the Majors Series. Nice little over-under move there for that LMP2.
Yeah, it was Justin Morton on his recovery drive. Justin Morton was second place in the point standings last season, not too far off of Christian Challoner. If Christian had faltered in the last round, Justin could have taken the championship. That's how close it was. So Justin not off to a great start today. Oh, that's almost a spin from Mark Stevenson. He's able to save it, but he's going to give him the position to Dick Mueller.
Yeah, wow, it looked like he actually lost it under braking coming into the left-hander. That's an easy thing to do, you know, the elevation change as we go to a replay of that incident. When you come up over the crest, if you're trailing the brakes a little too much, the rear end can go. These GT3 cars, they have anti-lock brakes, they have traction control, but even they won't be able to save you from something like that.
And we've got a nice little battle starting to shape up here for P5 in the LMP2s. This is Carter Kundinger leading away from Fernando Teixeira and Ethan Azowski. Those are three names that we seem to continue to call here. And right behind them, you can see that that's even Little Train Lionel Castillo starting to get interested in this battle as well. This is some very, very close stuff here, Reese.
That it is, and we did miss it, but it was a demonstration of how strong the draft is. Fernando Teixeira almost going around the outside of Kundinger coming into the inner loop, but a four-way battle now in LMP2, and it's Lionel Callisto, I think, with the advantage. And another thing we got a note about the heel of the boot there, you see drivers going beyond the curb and onto the tarmac runoff. I believe you don't get an off-track for that, so hey, if the drivers have the ability to use it, they're going to.
That's correct. Yeah, you don't get an off track for that one, so you're going to see a lot of drivers doing that. Just to note, there's a little bit of grass that's been pulled onto the circuit entering the final corner. And we're seeing some of the LMP2s clip that and get a little bit loose entering, so keep your eyes out for that towards the end of these stints. And we've had an issue with Joey Haynes and Wayne Hutchison, I believe.
We have indeed. It looks like Joey Haynes off through the toe of the boot, rejoining right there. We'll see if we can get you that replay pulled up, as I believe the two of them came together a little bit. Here is the replay. Reese, walk us through this.
Well, it was traffic. Rob Powers in the Kinetic BMW that allowed, oh my goodness, it allowed Brian McGreevy to try and get the advantage. He attempted to go up the inside, but made contact in the braking zone. Probably could have afforded to go to the right a little more there. Poor Joey Haynes.
Yeah, just absolutely caught out there a little bit as we continue to focus back in on that 33 machine as he gets his way back and going. Joey Haynes, a little bit of an unfortunate victim, but he looks like he's got a little bit underneath him. He is going to be trying to push ahead right now. That is Aaron Roos that he's trying to get around. Whoa! He is about to walk into a hornet's nest. Look at this, Adam.
Here comes the hornet's nest, and it's a big hold-up race. This is going to be spicy. They're going to go three wide.
Oh my goodness, LMP2s and GT3s, there's not much real estate out there on the racetrack. Trevor Hunt managing to keep Daniel Johnson behind. They're all just getting on the brakes, trying to avoid getting into the back of each other here. That was pretty intense. It looks like Austin Espety going to make his way up the inside of Brian Halleck as well. Oh, he might give an advantage to Jeff Schmeier and Rob Powers there in that GT3 battle, but the LMP2s have left that far behind as they make their way past the Dog Bear Ferrari of Brian Barnes and the Dog Bear McLaren of Ryan Steele.
And it's really important to note, DJ, that the second blue LMP2 is actually a lap down. Scott Corbin in the 54 is a lap down in that machine, so he's not really a huge part of this fight, but you have to remember, blue flags are only advisory in the Major Series.
They are indeed, but drivers do tend to try to pay attention to them as much as possible as we continue to watch this 54 machine working its way around, trying to hold off and attack, and this is where it just gets absolute insanity as they go around. I mean, we're already 30 laps into this race. If you were running a sprint race, you would certainly see drivers starting to fan out a little bit, but not in the majors.
I keep reminding myself, this is not, oh, here comes a move from Austin Espedy on Joey Haynes. There goes Austin up the inside. Can Joey power it out of the corner and get it done? No. I keep trying to remind myself, DJ, that this isn't the Camel Series because they're racing like they've got a 40-minute race. We've still got an hour and a half left in this thing.
Exactly. This is a mini endurance race, and these guys are just absolutely driving for broke, as now it looks like here we're going to have a little bit of a fight back for the Evolved Sim Sports driver, but no, he is not going to go for it. They stay in single file, going through the inner loop, trying to back it up a little bit more, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that kinetic racing machine up front is not done yet, looking very, very threatening on Aaron Roofs. He is trying to get ahead. Roofs a little bit offline, closes off the apex of the corner. That is a line you can take through these wide sweeping sections of the boot, but Austin Espedy looking very hungry here early on.
With a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the toe of the boot as well. That'll bring Joey Haynes right back into it. Joey, of course, on that bit of a recovery drive after 2 incidents so far, and doesn't look like he suffered too much from that rear end contact. I would have expected that he would have gotten a bit of diffuser damage as they come up on a GT3. Zachary Brown, that has allowed Austin Espedy to get through on Aaron Roofs.
Oh, talk about a heads-up play there for Austin Espedy, using that traffic to his advantage, and look at him streak away at him.
Absolutely, Aaron Roofs just lost a little bit of an opportunity there as we see Wayne Hutchison in the pits. I believe this is for regular service for Wayne, so I think he's doing the math and counting back as well, but Wayne Hutchison parks it in the box. We'll see whether or not he takes his spare car. The answer is no, so regular service for Wayne Hutchison.
It's 35
and here comes Eric
minutes
Smith
or
as
so.
well, Reese.
Oh, yeah,
From
interesting.
second position.
Yeah. Oh, well, Eric Smith falling down to P2. Arthur Figueredo made the move off screen. That's interesting. And actually looked like there was quite a gap between our 2 LMP2 leaders. I think that might have been traffic there for Eric Smith. But I was going to say that 35 minutes is the rough stint length in the LMP2s. You can extend it out to 40, 45 minutes with the fuel saving that I'm expecting most of the drivers will be doing.
Well, and they're not the only ones coming down pit lane. I'm seeing a couple other of drivers here, Eric Smith, Andrew Waring, and Lionel Castillo, all deciding to come down, or Callisto rather, deciding to come down pit lane. So 3 drivers taking their service. Doesn't look like any of them are taking tires. So, Reese, a little bit of what you were saying is that they'll be taking those tires later on.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to take tyres on the second stop. But yeah, interesting to see that we've got LMP2 drivers pitting this early. Looks like the majority of them have not quite been able to extend the tank out. Of course, some of these guys might be carrying some damage as Eric Smith makes his way out of the pit lane there, up ahead of the car that was ahead of him.
Oh, Nathan Dodd's gone
in.
around.
Oh.
Nathan Dodd was in 4th place, and he's been hit by an LMP2.
Oh, that's heavy damage.
Oh, we jump back to check out the replay on this.
Joey Haynes.
Oh. Yeah, I'm taking a look at this now. Haynes was coming in, and I think there was a bit of a miscommunication in terms of line there. Dowd was taking his line, which he was entitled to. Joey Haynes, I think, wasn't quite sure which side to go.
Yeah, let's ride on board with Joey here. Maybe this will give us a little bit of a better sense of what this was. Yeah, you see him coming up. Yeah, that was just a miscue there, I think, and Joey wasn't sure which way that Audi was going to be going, and that's what led to the contact.
Yeah, that's major front end damage, Reese. That's going to be hard for Joey to carry for the rest of the race. I mean, I know it's awful for Nathan Dodd, but that's also not going to pay off very well for Joey Haynes either. Also keeping my eyes on Carter Kundinger, who's been fighting with Brenton Foster for the 5th position for a couple of laps now. These 2 guys have been switching positions quite a bit.
Yeah, quite the battle between these two, and these guys all up quite a few positions thanks to other cars in the LMP2 class pitting and having their own issues. Brenton Foster trying his best to hold off Carter, who we ride on board with. In terms of Joey Haynes, I'm looking at his car and I'm not seeing any visual damage to the front end. I get the feeling he might have just managed to get away with it there, but all the same, I think he might have to get some damage repaired potentially at the pit stop. Better safe than sorry. But Carter, he's having a bit of trouble here getting by Foster. Of course, these LMP2 cars, they produce the majority of their downforce through the floor, as that's going to be a pit lane take for Brenton Foster. Gives Carter the position. We got Ozzy Milwain in the pits as well.
All right, so starting to near the end of the pit stop cycle here for these LMP2s. We'll have to see if that changes up the order at all, if drivers are able to do anything, and Reese, to see if anybody decides to take that bit of alternate strategy that you said about taking their tires here early on.
Well, looking at the pit stop times so far, it looks to me like no one has decided to take tyres so far. We'll see if Ozzy and Brenton decide to change things up a little, give themselves some fresh rubber in the middle stage of the race, and that should put them with the double stint on for a fresh set of tyres right at the end. As we take a look at Eric Smith here, he goes back up into 8th place versus Milwain and Foster, and it looks like
Miller's had a
Milwain.
problem.
Oh,
Dick Mueller, the number 710, has had an issue. And I think you're right, Brenton Foster is taking tires in the pits, but there's Dick, and he's lost his hood.
Big damage to the front of that car. Oh, did he touch the grass on the outside going down into the chute, I wonder? Just trying to take that car a little bit too far across. Let's watch this from the beginning of the incident. Everything looks nice and easy going down through the loop. Brings it over.
There's the grass. Yep, you're right.
anti-lock brakes aren't going to save you from that.
No, they are not.
Good incident avoidance by the LMP2 on the inside as well. That would have taken a bit of a split-second decision. Probably not too much in the way of under-tray damage from taking the grass there, as we have more LMP2 cars in the pits. Arthur Figueiredo has taken his stop, and it looks like, yeah, you mentioned Adam earlier, confirmed, I think Brenton Foster went for tyres, but he was stopped for 1 minute and 36. If it's a tyre stop, then I would expect it to be around 50 seconds, so maybe there was some damage that needed to be repaired there for Brenton.
It's entirely possible. So Eric Smith goes pie, and he's actually retaken the lead from Arthur Figueiredo.
Must have gotten a bit lucky in terms of traffic, which has allowed him to retake the effective lead of the race there. It's Rodrigo Lisowski who leads currently. He is just about one of the last of our LMP2 runners to pit up at the front of the field. Justin Morton, Nick Kuhn, Brian McGreevy in the pits, and Aaron Ralphs as well has just entered the pit lane in LMP2 from 17th on track, as this is quite the battle we're taking a look at here. Ray Partridge, he's involved in a battle with Rob Powers up ahead, and Brian Halleck, who is right behind him. Looks like the LMP2s are keeping it clean though, so not much interference in that battle.
No, everybody doing a pretty good job here, but this is a battle that really has just kind of been simmering for the past 5 or 6 laps. I've been keeping an eye out of it on the corner of my eye. Very, very good running here all the way around from these 3 BMWs, as that is, I believe, Ozzy Milwain working his way on by them, and Tom Abramitis as well going on through there, just trying to keep it as clean as possible. The traffic has separated them out just a little bit. A little bit of an interesting wider line there in the middle for Halleck as he tries to separate it out.
Well, once again, oh, goodness me, that looked a little bit awkward there for Rob Powers, having to go wide in the final corner there. Going to give the advantage to Ray Partridge, as it looks like tyres being taken for the number 44 car. That's Lynn Kinchelow, who we saw had a slight issue before, and yeah, definitely in the pits. And I think Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a conventional tyre stop there. 1 minute and 9 seconds stop time there for Lynn. So I am thinking that there was some extra damage needing to be repaired for Brenton Foster. Or maybe he sped on entry into the pits and had to take a penalty.
That could be it, as well, as Lynn is back out and on in that teal and purple car. Focusing back here on Brenton Foster. Let's check in here very quickly on one of our drivers that we have on cam. That is Justin Morton, good old JMO. As we watch him drive around here, the driver in VR. You can see him checking behind in his rear view mirrors there, Adam.
Yeah, DJ, so interestingly, Justin Morton is one of the drivers who decided not to take tires. I think he's going for track position on this early stop. But he's got some left rear damage that he's nursing, and so that is an interesting strategy choice. Now, JMO, one of those drivers in VR, he's got a little bit of tape on the front of that VR headset. I think that helps with some of the contrast viewability for the headset tracking. But yeah, Justin Morton, you can see him just wheeling the car around, trying to recover from that early spin. He's already gained a couple of positions, but he's still got 3 more to go before he's going to meet even with his qualifying position. I'm sure he was hoping for a top 5.
Yeah, I'm sure he was as well. And JMO, really one of the surprises of last season. We're used to seeing him on the dirt and oval side of things, and he really surprised us, putting in some great runs on the road courses last year, so that was particularly effective. So we may want to jump you over here to the battle for P5 in LMP2. This is Ethan Ozowski and Andrew Waring. This has been a battle that's been brewing here for a couple of laps. Waring has been closing in pretty consistently since the pit stops. He took 0.3 a second and a half and 0.5 out of Ozowski. He is really closing in, and that is Brian McGreevy right up ahead of them. Now, that is not on track. That is a lapped car up ahead.
Yeah, indeed. This is going to be quite the issue for these guys with the lap car, Brian McGreevy. Of course, we did mention before, blue flags are only advisory in the major series, so McGreevy isn't under any huge pressure to let these guys by, but I would expect that he'll probably make it easy for them if they get right up to his rear bumper. Looking back at Waring from Ozowski, it is quite amazing the turn of pace that Waring has gotten. Oh, there's been traffic for McGreevy up ahead. Zachary Brown in the Dog Bear BMW, and that has compromised Ozowski, and that's going to be Waring trying to thread the needle on the outside coming into the 90, and at the pincer move with Ozowski. He almost gets into Waring on the inside, but just manages to pull it up in time.
Oh, let's go back and check this out on a replay. Adam, walk us through this incredibly heads-up move.
This was a couple of interesting decisions from Andrew Waring and Ethan Ozowski. Now, Andrew Waring sees the hold-up there from McGreevy, so he's going to take a look at taking the what turns into the outside. Ozowski's like, I'm not going to let you get away with that. He's going to take a late dive, but then realizes that Andrews doesn't realize he's there, so he has to hit the brakes a lot harder and just barely miss the rear wing of Andrew Waring. That could have been really bad for both of them.
Indeed, it could, but both drivers very heads up there, being able to move it. It now looks like that Andrew's starting to pull away a little bit to the tune of about a half a second. As I said, he was really able to close in well on those last couple of laps, so a good job there from him. Let's jump back into that GT3 field as well. P8, Rob Powers, that battle with Ray Partridge hasn't died away yet as the two dueling BMWs. This is just back on track, frankly, from where we were, as that's Jason Wallet working his way around. These two looking very close. Kinetic and Dog Bear, two of the more storied teams here in the major series.
They both had to compromise their lines out of what I would call the ankle of the boot to let the LMP2 of Jason Wallet by. That's a slight advantage for Ray Partridge coming out of the toe, but he doesn't have much in the way of toe, T-O-W. Unfortunately for Rob Powers, running wide in the heel, he does get a good exit using that tarmac runoff around the outside, but Ray Partridge, there's not much space there to try and pull an over-under. He's continuing to go defensive as Rob Powers, and I think that's a pretty wise move considering this turn here. Well, actually, no one told Ray Partridge. He goes around the outside to take the position. That was a great move.
That was a very heads-up move, and not normally one that you see. That penultimate corner tends to be a little bit more of a brush-breaking maneuver. But, wow, ooh, maybe a little bit of a fight back here, though, for Rob Powers. Not yet. He's going to try to back up the 90 and see if he can maybe get a better run. Runs a little bit wide on the exit at him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Rob had his best opportunity into the 90, but decided to not take it, so we're looking at a pass that just happened. We're going to take a look at this because this is an important one.
Yeah, that's Aussie Milwain, who has made his way past Tom Abramatis, going wide in the loop here. Something happened here. Oh, that was contact, I think, with the Porsche on the inside for Aussie Milwain, and that allowed Abramatis to try and pull a move here. I think this happened into the toe of the boot.
That's correct, it did. It was into the ankle, actually.
Ah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so there it is. All right, a little bit of contact leading to Ozzie Milwain being able to get on by. Look at that gap he's already started to develop. And Abramitis has got to be careful because Ethan Ozowski certainly closing in behind him and bringing Andrew Waring along with him. So Tom may have his hands full. Oh, that's a side-by-side battle there behind. That is Ozowski and Waring going side-by-side down into the inner loop.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me?
They hold on to it. Goodness me, that was balls out stuff.
It was indeed. My goodness. I didn't think you could go too wide through there. Let's check out this replay, Reese.
Wow, fantastic stuff, and we'll be on board here with Osowski. He's going to have Waring coming up behind him here. Ended up making the move on Waring back, but this is how Andrew took that position. Oh, they were so close to making contact, and goodness me, Osowski, he got very lucky, as did Waring over the curbs. You got to try and keep the wheels straight there.
Yeah, you do indeed. Really doing everything that he could do to get it going. But now this is going to set up a battle. This is really interesting. This is Milwain, Abramitis, Waring, and Ozowski running within about 2 seconds of one another. So this is shaping up to be a little bit of a four-way battle here, potentially for that final podium position.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting battle to keep our eyes on through this entire stint, this entire fuel stint for these drivers. I think Waring definitely has the best pace of all these guys right now. Even with the trouble he was having with Ozowski, his last lap was 0.2 faster than the two guys ahead of him and 0.4 faster than Abramitis. So he's got an opportunity, and Abramitis is going to get held up in the inner loop here.
Yeah, he has to check himself up a little bit. Oh, almost contact there from behind from Andrew Waring. Waring looking like he is on a full charge here as they work their way by the Ferrari. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3. That is Abramitis, Waring, and Ozowski. I'm getting the sense here that Tom Abramitis is a little bit of a cork in the battle because Waring and Ozowski have a lot of speed.
Yeah, an absolute ton of speed. Waring, he goes for the late apex here to try and line up the move. Does it translate into a good exit? It did on the initial throttle application, but he's going to have to try and outbrake him here at the heel of the boot, and he certainly sticks his nose in. Abramitis will run wide and will go defensive versus Waring. Remember, he's battling two cars here. Osowski, he had to take massive avoiding action there.
Both of them super loose on the exit of the boot, and Waring is able to get the job done, but oh my goodness, these guys are absolutely on the edge.
Yeah, they are driving like they are in the final minutes, and they still have an hour and 12 minutes to go. Let's check out this replay, Adam. These guys just inches apart from one another.
Absolutely. There you see Waring, and there you see Ozowski closing up to the back of Waring. There you see them side by side as they come through here. Now, Waring going around the outside. He gets extremely loose on the outside there, and that was Ozowski having to take avoiding action on the exit of the boot. Now, we got to come back live because Waring and Abramitis are about to go at it again. Ethan Ozowski trying to close in behind them. Here they come into the inner loop again, and Abramitis just with the overspeed on Waring, but Waring can try and go up the inside on the curb, can't do it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that draft was absolutely huge for Abramitis. And now we are back in the same position we were. The door opens for Ethan Osowski briefly, but Andrew Waring, that outside line through the ankle of the boot, certainly the place you want to be as they make their way past Jonathan Medeiros in the Kinetic BMW. He's running just inside the top 10 in GT3 at the moment, all on his lonesome. But this LMP2 battle is by no means over. Remember, this is for 4th position.
It is indeed, and what this is really allowed to have happen, Ozzy Milwane, who remember was a little bit in this battle, he has scampered away to about the tune of about 3 seconds at this point as these three continue to squabble out on track, diving down into that penultimate corner. They're going to have to see if they can get a good set up here, looking at Andrew Waring to see what he has got. They're going to line their way out of the corner. Not sure if that's going to be favoring everybody. It's now going to be a battle of the late breakers to see who can set themselves best up into the 90. There they go down into the corner and exiting GT3 coming out of the pits. That's going to throw off the line of Andrew Waring and I think really prevent an attack, and it's really going to hurt Ethan Nazowski.
Let's see if Osowski has what it takes to get in the draft of Andrew Waring and try and get alongside him. You see how strong the slipstream is, but Osowski not going to make the move that time, and I think that was a pretty wise decision. These guys being as close as they are, battling as hard as they are, they're costing each other a lot of time as Waring and Osowski. Oh, there we go. Waring up the inside into the ankle. Abramitis ends up giving him the position there. I think with how aggressive Andrew Waring is being, Abramitis was just thinking, you know what, mate, you can have it. But they are costing each other quite a bit of time as that's Daniel Johnson in the 023 Kinetic LMP2 having some issues on the outside, but fortunately nothing doing there. And oh dear, Rob Powers. Oh, Osowski! Oh, that was rear end contact there as he tried to make his way around the BMW very early on the brakes there for Tom Abramitis.
Toe damage for Ethan Nazowski and major damage for Rob Powers, who spins out as well after that contact.
Oh. You hate to see a battle such as that coming to blows like that in the way that it did. Oh, and that is Brian McGreevy around as well. I think that was just spinning the tires a little bit coming over that 9th turn. And yeah, there you see the 033 coming on into pit lane. That's Ethan Nazowski. Let's walk through this replay. Oh.
Nazowski didn't realize they were going to break that early.
We're hearing that Waring had an issue here as well. Not too sure what has gone on here. Apparently, this is what kicked it off. So they go through the toe of the boot. You see the other LMP2 running wide and into the barrier. What on earth happened to Andrew Waring here? Oh, wow, okay. That's what ended up happening. He thought he could go to the inside of Rob Powers.
Oh, we need a replay of Lionel Kalisto because he's just gone around off of contact with Carter Kundinger.
Indeed, he has side by side through the inner loop, and one of them ending up the bad side. Let's see if we can spool up this replay. Adam, talk us through this.
Now, I've been watching this battle. It's a three-way battle for the LMP2s on P6. There you see Lionel Kalisto trying to go around the outside. They're going to go side by side through the inner loop, and that's Kundinger who just comes out a little bit, and a little bit of ghost contact between the two of them puts Lionel Kalisto out. Fortunately, doesn't hit the barrier, so he should be fine to resume racing.
Yeah, so a little bit of a catch out there. He's very, very lucky that he's not going to have any damage as a result of that, and that will spit him back out into P8. He definitely has some work to do to try to catch up ahead, but certainly not the way he wanted to have his day going.
Well, there's no battles in GT3 at the moment, but the pit stop window is now open for that class, so we should be expecting our top runners in GT3 to start coming in very shortly. Christian Challoner, of course, completely untroubled in the lead at the moment. He leads by 14.8 seconds over Nick Ottinger. It's been a dominant performance here from our reigning champion.
Yeah, Adam, he's doing what we've said in the past. It's just Christian Challoner doing Christian Challoner things here and absolutely dominating his field. Really, really pulling out a fantastic advantage and just showcasing why he is a two-time reigning champion.
And Mark Stevenson's just had a problem. He had contact. This is from third place with Ethan Nazowski again, and this was a wild incident.
Oh, yeah, that was into the heel of the boot. Oh, and actually it looks like Mark Stevenson caught the grass on the entry to the corner. So no fault of the LMP2. Osowski was going for the move on the inside. Looks like he might be carrying some minor damage from that, but certainly there's the door that's been dented inwards for Mark Stevenson.
So watching the incident here as he comes up over the corner, you see that car ringing
I think
it out
we're a
to the
bit past
outside.
it.
Yeah, I think we are.
Happened on the entry into the heel of the boot in the braking zone. So we'll take a look here at Mark Stevenson. You have Osowski coming up behind him. And now we're back even further. So we're going to have to wait a little bit here to see the incident, but Stevenson was he was taking his time, just on his lonesome. But then when the LMP2 came up on him, you'll see it very shortly, catching the grass on the outside in the braking zone. We've seen quite a few GT3s fall victim to that so far tonight, and I think very unfortunate for Ethan Osowski. There was nothing he could do to avoid what's about to happen.
Yeah, so we're going to see Mark Stevenson just goes a little bit wide to try and avoid Osowski and ends up clipping that outside grass that ends up locking those outside tires and sending him straight into the inside of Osowski.
We've got a little bit of a battle starting to shape up for 19th in the LMP2 class. This is Justin Kirby and Aaron Roofs. They were just about side by side coming down through the bus stop. That has to say a little bit squirrely of a look there from Aaron Roofs. That car not exactly handling perfectly, it looks like, Reese.
Yeah, not handling perfectly at all. Probably carrying some damage from an earlier incident there for Aaron Roofs. But he's still circulating. That's the main thing. And what you want to do in the majors is try and get to 75% race distance, and you'll still be eligible for points. So if you've already taken your spare car and you're carrying some damage that can't be repaired, then that's probably the best thing to do.
Indeed it is, as this battle dies down just a little bit here, as it looks like Aaron is getting past. Our next closest battle that we have out on track, well, it's back up for P3, it looks like. Ozzie Millwane and Andrew Waring not exactly letting that battle die. Only about a second separating the two of them. And right now it's just Ozzie trying to pull away, but traffic not exactly getting the best of him. Waring there in that similarly painted scheme behind him.
Yeah, these two teammates really starting to duke it out. Ozzie Millwane really tried to run away while Andrew Waring was battling with Osowski, but now that Andrew's had some clear air, he's really closed that gap significantly over the last couple laps, and he was faster by an entire second last lap, DJ. So very much a pace difference between these two drivers, and that's interesting because both of them took fuel only last stop.
Exactly. It may just be a little bit more of a case here of Waring being a little bit nicer to the tires.
Challenger's in, DJ.
Yes, he is.
So is Ottinger from second.
All right, so could we be nearing the end of this GT3 pit cycle? Christian Challenger coming on in. We do not expect him to take tires here over the course of this stop. Probably fuel only for the dominant GT3 leader.
It'll be interesting to see whether he does take tires, because with a minute and with an hour and 3 minutes to go, yeah, he does go up on the jacks, because I was going to say he's going to need a splash and dash to make it to the end, DJ. So I think that actually taking tires here is the right play, because you don't want to take it on the splash and dash. You can't risk running out of tires towards the end of this race. Now, that being said, track temperature has decreased. After increasing to 99 degrees Fahrenheit, it's decreased back down to 93. So the cloud cover over this race has really helped keep all that weather from really affecting us, because we've seen qualifying temperatures as high as 144 degrees on track. Fortunately, the drivers not having to deal with that today.
Yeah, indeed. This is one of those circuits that can really, really get hot, as there he comes on into the pits. Got a nice little battle here back for 16th. This is Joey Haynes and Bretton Foster trying to chase down Daniel B. Johnson.
This is looking quite close here. They've been encountering some GT3 traffic. Lionel Callisto, of course, he had the incident coming through the inner loop earlier. Joey Haynes lifting off early there because Callisto is currently quite a ways ahead of these guys, to the tune of a lap, actually. Remember, Joey Haynes dealing with a lot of damage himself. But Brenton Foster trying his best to stay within a couple of car lengths of Haynes as they come into the
Reese,
final turn. Johnson is pitting.
Sorry, Reese. Milwain has just gotten passed by Waring, and Milwain is trying to fight him back on the heading into the inner loop.
Oh yeah, two Evolved SimSports drivers with one heck of a battle coming down the back stretch. Looks like Waring has cleared him there.
Yeah, Waring almost definitely clipped the inside grass there coming out of the inner loop, but has enough downforce to hang on to it. Waring has been pushing through that inner loop like nobody else today, and it really has been paying dividends. That risk is turning into major rewards for him.
Well, that's often what you see out of these LMP2s. If you can figure out just how to get that angle right, it'll really, really come out well for you. And so clearly Andrew Waring, one of those drivers that is doing a great job to be able to push itself forward, really, really putting the pressure down. Now, this is him up into third. He's still got a lot of work to do, about 9 seconds up the road to Arthur Figueredo.
We've got Brian Barnes in the pit lane in the GT3s as well. We've got drivers filtering through now into the pits in this class. There's only 3 cars left to make a pit stop. Mark Stevenson, make that 2. Actually, still 3. Mark Stevenson, Brian Halleck, and Jonathan Medeiros as Rob Powers, and now Medeiros make their way into the lane. Round about the hour mark here for the GT3s, and the tyres last quite some time, so I'd expect the majority of drivers in the GT3 class to not take tyres here, though we did see a couple of drivers take tyres. It looks like Brian Barnes is going to be one of them.
Yeah, and that's also what we saw Christian Challoner doing. So, Reese, it seems like the optimal strategy here is to take tires now and then just be able to come in for that quick splash and dash at the end.
Yeah, I think it's also a case of, if you've got the gap to drivers behind and you can afford to add that extra 20 seconds or so to your pit stop time, then you might as well do it, and it gives you the advantage of fresh rubber in addition.
Unfortunately, it looks like Stevenson missed his pit box a little bit, so he'll lose a couple of seconds on that recovery, but Mark Stevenson in from the lead. This will give the lead back over to Christian Challoner with an 18-second lead over Brian Halleck.
Indeed, it
Correction,
will.
a 9-second lead over Brian Halleck.
Yep, there we go. There we see some more drivers coming on in, and there is that number 1 machine, Christian Challoner, taking his car around to reassume that lead of the GT3s. So he will have what we anticipate being mega lead there in class, as he is wont to do, just doing Challoner things, as we've said. I want to jump you back to the battle for P6 in the LMP2s. This is Carter Kundinger getting chased down by Fernando Teixeira. Teixeira has been able to close down the last couple of laps. Everything's turning up green here for Fernando. So certainly some speed coming in from that number 82.
He took 3/10 out of Carter on the previous lap. It doesn't look like traffic is going to be too much of an issue for them. Maybe here for Fernando coming into the inner loop potentially. That is Nick Ottinger up ahead, and yeah, well, he's able to take a good turn of pace into the chicane, but has to go sweeping around the outside of the carousel to negotiate the Porsche. Looks like that's given Carter Kundinger a very nice advantage, but how long will that advantage last? Because Teixeira is looking quite pacey at the moment.
Yeah, indeed he is, and that traffic slowing down Carter just a little bit, but we'll have to see if Fernando's able to get a good run on him there. Coming around there, down into the heel of the boot, seeing if there is any advantage to be had.
You can see just how wide they're taking that exit there of the heel of the boot, and that's just the benefit of that paved runoff that exists on the outside now, really helping the drivers to be able to take that line all the way to the outside. It actually sets them up well to exit the boot as well, so it's really helpful for the drivers to be able to do that. But as we come back onto the front straightaway. There's about a second and a half out of the inner loop, now down to a second for Carter Kendinger and Fernando.
There we go. There's a move there. Joey Haynes going around the outside of Brenton Foster, who goes into the lane, and that's no surprise there. You can see he's got some damage to his right front. I'm not too sure where he's picked that up, but certainly cost him a lot of time. I've actually just seen what happened to Brenton Foster. He took a little bit too much curb in the inner loop, and that has given him probably some under tray damage.
Probably has. We're going to try to check out that replay here to see what it is exactly for Foster. 23. All right, this is the run down to that inner loop. It's right on board with him. Big clobber.
Oh, he caught the inside wall.
Oh, we've had a big up and over. That's the 023 of Daniel Johnson almost flipping off of the side of the track, going down into the toe.
Yeah, and this was off of the nose of Ozzie Milwain, who was trying to lap Daniel B. Johnson, and Daniel B. Johnson was held up behind some GT3 traffic. This was just a couple of moments ago.
And this was a battle that was starting to develop there with Ozzie Milwain. Let's check this out. Adam, walk us through what happened here.
Absolutely. Tom Abramitis was chasing down Ozzie Milwain, so Milwain wanted to get through this traffic. You could see Milwain right there in the green, and you could see just a little bit of ghost contact that leads into a huge amount of contact that sends Daniel B. Johnson perched up onto the powder blue wall.
Does indeed, and that's going to send Andrew Waring and Ozzie Milwain both down pit lane. It looks like Ozzie probably for a little bit of damage repair after that. And this is going to promote, or this is going to keep Arthur Figueredo up into P2. He now has a 17-second advantage over Tom Abramitis. There is Waring in the pits right now.
You know, the person who's going to be the most happy about that happening is going to be Justin Morton. He just made 2 spots off of those 2 guys having problems. Justin Morton up to 7th position. Now he's only 1 spot down on his starting position. Actually, no, he's 1 spot up now, so he's slowly climbing his way. He's got 16 seconds to line off Listo, and currently lapping a little bit slower than him. But if Justin can get that damage repaired on his next stop, he might have an opportunity here. He's going to be very, very patient here with Nick Ottinger and Zachary Brown, the GT3s, as he ride on board. Take a look at Justin Morton as he tackles this track in VR.
Exactly. And Reese, walk us through a little bit of what it's like here to be dealing with some of those slower LMP2 cars when you are driving, or slower GT3 cars as you are driving like this. I mean, it basically constantly just keeps you on your toes the entire time.
Yeah, you have to have a car that you're confident in for starters, something with a nice stable rear end, but also something that is a little pointy when it matters, because you will have to alter your line quite a few times around this track. When you're negotiating GT3s, it's all about just trying to position yourself for a good exit, mainly as that is a spinner ahead of Justin Morton, manages to avoid him. Only just, that was one of the Kinetic BMWs. Looks like that was Rob Powers.
Yeah, that was Powers. Woo!
Oh, it's continued. Oh.
I believe that was Zachary Brown that also got collected in it, and this looks a little bit like just the curse of wheel spin coming up through this corner. Carries a little bit too much speed, tries to get on the throttle early. Yep, got out, understeered out onto the grass, and let's keep it here. You see the cars separating it, and then you see,
Who was the Porsche there? Was that Ottinger? Yeah, it was Nick Ottinger. He only just got away with that, it seems. We'll take a look at this on board with him. Rob Powers, he attempted to get it going, but I think the better decision would have been to reverse off the racing line. I'm not too sure if he was aware of these cars up ahead of him. Let's see what happened here then for Nick Ottinger. We see Powers just up ahead. He starts moving forward, and whoa, yeah, that was good heads-up driving there from Ottinger.
Very, very close stuff there for Nick Ottinger, and he is going to need a change of pants, I would have to imagine, by the end of this.
Man, that was an absolute split-second decision he had to make, and fortunately for him, it was the right one.
Indeed it was, and so that's going to allow him to continue on in second place right now. He is about 18 seconds adrift of Christian Challoner, but holding on to that second place quite well. He's also got about a 17-second gap back to Nathan Dowd. Eric Smith coming down pit lane out of P5. This is what we anticipate being a scheduled stop. There he is taking some tires, Reese.
Yep, and Lionel Callisto has also brought his way into the lane as well. Eric Smith, no surprise that he is taking tyres on that second stop. And it looks like his this stint, he was able to extend it quite a bit. 23 laps versus a 20-lap first stint, so that extra traffic helping him out somewhat in a way. That'll put him on for a good run towards the finish. Oh, be careful of the pit exit there. It's very easy to get a penalty for going over the blend line.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I know I have fallen foul of that many a time, and thankfully they're going around. And I also want to give credit there to his pit crew, looking like they're only in boxers, so I'm a big fan of that, of a little bit of alternate pit crew design, let us say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it shows you that I guess he runs a casual workplace culture at his team. As, oh dear, Callisto, bit of understeer into the inner loop, and he's currently involved in a battle with Andrew Waring, who has only come out of the pits 2.5 laps ago. So this is a battle for position between these two.
It is indeed. Let's check out the onboard in this, and Adam, a big snap here from Lionel Little Train Callisto as he brings it on through. Just very scary moment.
Yeah, those curves that I talked about, he clipped it just at the wrong point, hit that right tire on that little peak of the curb, upset the car, totally took away all the undertray downforce, and that meant that he couldn't turn the car into the second part of the course. So Callisto has to try and recover and get back up to Andrew Waring. Now, that being said, Arthur Figueredo is only about a second behind him. There you see our leader tucked in behind, but Figueredo has yet to pit.
Yeah, indeed, as we watch this, and they're coming on a little battle of themselves as they work their way around. This is the number 2 machine, obviously, that we have our eyes focused on of Callisto. But they're just trying to gain everything that they can in at this point. Battle's starting to dissipate out a little bit more as it starts to get into the latter stages of this race. And Reese, getting the sense that drivers, that could be a little bit of a move going by. That's not, that is going to be there.
Yeah, it looks like Figueredo making his way past Callisto there. And Figueredo, of course, still in the overall lead of the race. We do have Abramitis making his way into the lane as well. We'll see if he gets up onto the jacks. It will take about 30 seconds for the fuel to be put in, and then the tires are done.
Indeed, so Abramitis here just waiting for that to get going. Probably a little bit of a splash and dash at the end if my numbers are right that he's still going to have to wait for. Is that a correct assumption there, Reese?
Yes, I would say so, with the stint lengths that we're seeing from the majority of the LMP2 field.
Sorry, Reese. Lyndon Kinchlow has major toe damage.
Oh. Yeah, he does, actually. I saw that he was involved in a battle with Justin Kirby on my timing screen as Figueredo makes his way into the lane. But yeah, that looks like pretty heavy damage there for Lynn Kinchlow.
Yeah, and this was actually coming out of the final corner. This was a long time ago. Coming out of the final corner, he pancakes the outside wall and ends up with major toe damage and couldn't get to the pits because it was on that final corner.
Yeah. Just taking a look at it myself. He tries his best to get through the final corner, but a little bit too much curb, too much understeer, maybe went a little deep. We'll fast forward a bit to see what happened, and it should be coming up right about now. And
hit play on the tape deck. Here we go.
There we go. So you'll see him come in now. Bit too much curb, the downforce is gone and into the wall, and yeah, the car is crabbing all the way around. That's a very inconvenient place for that to happen, as you said, DJ, or Adam, sorry. That was in front of the leader as well, the number 82 of Fernando Teixeira. This would have been scary for him.
Yeah, it would have been indeed. Let's ride on board with Fernando here as he works his way around, following it down in. You can see Glen just getting off, getting through, and then bam! And he sees that hit, and he is getting as far to the right as he possibly can. We've got a couple of more drivers opting to duck down pit lane. Carter Kundinger looks like he is coming on in. Many drivers opting to take their second stop here.
And a note from our director, Joe Peak, Fernando sounding like he is clutching a bit, and that's something that you'll see happen quite a bit in races where you need to fuel save. Drivers get on the clutch in the braking zone to bring the revs down and minimize the fuel consumption. Teixeira has done a good job at extending this stint. I would expect him to come into the pits here. He does indeed. That is a 24-lap stint there for Fernando Teixeira. Looks like it's going to be the same for Justin Morton, who is 26 seconds behind.
Indeed it is. So there as we watch the 82, that is your leader coming down pit lane. We anticipate him taking tires here on this stop for this last 45-minute run to the line. But as they continue to go, let's jump you back here. Arthur Figueredo and Eric Smith, post-pit stops. This is starting to be a little bit of a battle out on track. Arthur leading Eric right now, and the both of them, they have pitted, so this is a battle for position.
Yeah, Figueredo just about to complete his first lap out of the pits. And of course, Eric Smith, our pole sitter, he's had quite a few adventures, but these guys are going to filter through into P2 and P3 with Teixeira and Lisowski making their way into the lane. And Teixeira will be on the jacks for the tires. I would imagine he is indeed.
Indeed, as we check back in on that battle, this definitely now is a battle for that second step on the podium. Both cars flinging it through the bus stop there and into the outer loop. A little bit of a narrower line there for Eric Smith, although he's lost a little bit of time. That gap was down to about 0.3 of a second. Maybe a situation here where Figueredo's just got a little bit more downforce in the car potentially, and Eric Smith maybe a little bit faster in a straight line.
And this, sorry, I was going to say this is a battle for the effective race lead because Justin Morton up ahead of these guys will be coming up to his pit stop sooner rather than later. In fact, right now, Morton's managed to make it 25 laps on that stint. Great fuel saving and putting on a very good recovery drive, I have to say.
Question is, will he take that fast repair and repair that left rear damage that he's got? My guess is he probably won't, just for the sake of the insurance, but Figueredo and Eric Smith will now be battling for the LMP2 lead and the overall lead of the race.
Indeed, they will. And remember, as we said at the top of the show, points here are scored based off class, so not overall position, so you don't have to worry about that in that regard. Figueredo there leading in that blue number 11. Eric Smith chasing. Looking like he's losing a bit of time there. Caught out a little bit by traffic. Now that's Brenton Foster right up ahead of them. Foster looks like he's backing out of the throttle to let the leaders on past.
Good decision there. Let them continue their fight. Well, Figueredo, he'll be certainly with those slightly fresher tires versus Eric Smith, only by a lap or two.
Justin Morton took a 33.8 second pit stop.
He didn't take tires, so he's going for
neither
track
did Vincent
position.
Leherbier behind him. So he gained track position. He's up into the top 10 now.
Well, there
will
you
those
are
tires
seeing,
last?
Yeah, you are seeing the answer to what Justin believes is the way to try to get on by here if he can. But I gotta think that running a full 2 hours on those tires is going to be very, very sketchy. But clearly, Justin thinks he can do it, and if he's able to do it, well, more power to him. He's just going to have to be very, very careful, especially coming up through that turn 9. And he's going to have to just be later on the throttle and avoid any risk of spinning those rears.
LMP2 leaders back on. Figueiredo had to go wide in the final turn to get by Ryan Steele.
Oh,
on the
contact!
door. McLaren and this big contact into turn 1 with Mark Stevenson for Arthur Figueiredo. That's going to give Eric Smith the lead back. What on earth happened down here?
The same thing that happened to Mark Stevenson last time. He clipped the outside grass going into the corner.
Goodness me. Well, you'll see it here. Making his way around the McLaren is Figueiredo, but train your eyes on the BMW up ahead. Goes onto the grass coming into the turn, and completely innocent victim there was Arthur Figueiredo. He did nothing wrong.
Nothing at all wrong, but very, very tough to see there for him. Arthur's now going to have the bit between his teeth, I think, and thankfully for him, he should have one more fast repair ready if he decides to come in and take that final pit stop, which we assume will happen. And as he goes right now, he's got about a 1.5 second gap up the road to Ethan Ozowski. Andrew Waring, though, closing in a little bit. There you can see him in that number 3 machine, so the race may be on for that final podium position.
Yeah, I don't think Ozowski's going to make it to the end of the race, Reese, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's 17 laps into his stint, and I don't think the fuel's going to last that long to make it to the end.
Yeah, actually, considering he'll probably be able to make it on one more pit stop, if he can extend this stint out to 22, 23 laps, my timing is showing me 27 laps to go for the LMP2 leader, so he might just be safe.
Well, the plot thickens here at the 2 hours of the Glen. A lot of contact starting to develop out. We apologize for not giving a lot of love over the GT3s, but those battles have really, really separated out. And just to give you a quick heads up on it, Christian Challoner continues to lead from Nick Ottinger and Nathan Dowd. Those are your top 3. Riding in 4th in class right now is Kevin Hill. There you see Nathan Dowd. That is your 3rd place, your highest placed Audi, and the only Audi in the field. Down in 4th place, well, it's another Porsche. That is Kevin Hill. And then the first of our most popular manufacturer here today, the BMW, that is going to be Mark Stevenson riding around in 5th place for the Forge Racing team. So those are the top 5 in your GT3 category, but not a whole lot of battles happening out there, Adam.
No, but this is a battle we need to keep our eyes on between Arthur Figueiredo and Andrew Waring. Andrew Waring, you know how quick he is on these tight runs where he tries to pass a guy, and you can see just how loose he was getting coming out of the boot, trying to put heavy pressure on Figueiredo, who's dropping a couple of seconds to Ethan Ozowski ahead.
Yeah, he is indeed, and it's important to know that obviously on that last lap, Figueiredo had a lot of damage and cost him about 7 seconds, but even before that, Andrew Waring was closing in on him quite a bit, so he is quicker all around even before that incident, so I would not be surprised if Waring is able to find a way by here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it looks like he might get the move done here coming into the inner loop. The draft is on coming out of the S's, and Waring will pull alongside. He's going to be ahead of Figueiredo by the time they get to the braking zone, and Figueiredo yields and gives him the position. So Andrew Waring continuing with his brilliant run here today. He's had just the right mix of balance and aggression, has the Canadian, now up into 3rd.
Well, and Adam, you were just crunching some numbers on here on Andrew Waring's pace, and it looks like he has got a positive rocket ship underneath him.
Absolutely. He was half a second faster than Eric Smith last lap. If he can keep that up, he'll be to the back of Eric Smith in 20 laps, and with about 23 left to go, that would give him 3 laps to fight with Eric Smith for the lead. Now, granted, this is a multi-class race, so there's a ton of traffic to take into consideration. A lot of factors that are going to come into play here. But if Andrew Waring can keep that pace up, he might have a win on his hands, because Ethan Ozowski, between the two of them, still has yet to pit for his 2nd time.
Does indeed. So this is going to set some very, very interesting things here as the field goes along. We'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll have to keep an eye on that battle as we check in here on Ethan as he works his way through some slower class traffic right now.
Yeah, Ethan should be coming in for his third pit stop pretty soon, and he's got his hands full with some LMP2 traffic on the inside of him. That is the number 128 of William Fletcher. He yields, and Osowski bit deep, and that forces Nick Ottinger off the track, and that's going to result in contact with William Fletcher. Ottinger into the wall, and across the track, he's going to get absolutely cleaned up by Brenton Foster. Also involved in that, Ray Partridge.
And Arthur Figueredo.
Again, Arthur having no luck. And Ottinger with heavy damage. He's crabbing. He's going to have to come in for a fast repair.
That was second place in the GT3s, and he was completely out on his own. He had no traffic to deal with. He had nothing to deal with. And this absolute send completely destroyed his race.
That's such a shame.
What an absolute shame. And then once he gets out onto the grass, tries to collect it back up under him. A contact there again with the LMP2 that was completely offline, and then sent back around and just ka-thunk.
Figueredo was trying his best to avoid that incident, but he had a BMW on his outside, which compromised him as well.
Poor Arthur Figueredo, just absolutely no luck out here today in the 2 hours of the Glen. This is just heartbreaking here. We saw him running up in the podium positions, and as he comes around, just nowhere to go but into the wall.
And it looks like he's stuck in the wall there as well, so he is losing a ton of time there. He's actually towed back to the pit lane, and once again, with extremely heavy damage, he's going to be nowhere near a top 10, maybe not even a top 15 at this rate.
No, not at all. But one driver who is continuing on at a very, very good pace of knots, that is Andrew Waring. That is Ethan Osowski right up ahead of him. Now, remember, Ethan owes us a pit stop, but nevertheless, Andrew Waring been able to close this gap down to about 1.2 seconds already. It was hovering at about 2 seconds a little while ago, and he is closing in a big, big way. The last 2 laps, able to take about 6-7 tenths of a second out of it.
Yeah, remember, Ethan and Andrew were both held up by that incident that we saw coming out of the inner loop. So both of them lost time to Eric Smith. That might be Eric Smith's saving grace, because we're closing in on laps here for these drivers, and Andrew Waring is still about 5.5 seconds back. And so he still has to pass Ethan Osowski, provided that Ethan doesn't come in this lap. I'm guessing he'll come in the next 2, but Andrew's got some work to do if he wants to try and win this race off of Eric Smith on raw pace alone.
That was close for Osowski, though. He actually rubbed the exit wall coming out of the final corner as he makes his way past our GT3 leader, Christian Challoner. He's really pushing it. We'll get a quick replay of that just to see how close Ethan Osowski was to disaster.
Riding on board here, you can see him just bringing it down through these corners. The brush braking that is that final turn. Put it into slow motion. Just a little bit of a hello, how you doing to that outside wall, and by your class leader in the GT3s, Christian Challoner.
Another 8 tenths for Andrew Waring on Eric Smith that lap. That's very quick.
Yeah, incredibly quick stuff here from Andrew Waring. He's dialed up the pace once again, and Christian Challoner's gap is certainly nothing to sneeze at. He now leads the GT3 class by 47 seconds over his nearest rival. It's going to get probably a bit close between Nathan Dowd and Kevin Hill. There's 12 seconds separating them, so that might come good at the end of the race. But Challoner, he's had a pretty quiet one, which I guess is what you want in an endurance race.
And especially what you want to start off your season. Now, remember, Nick Ottinger was only 20 seconds behind Christian Challoner. I say only, but he was 20 seconds behind, so that gap was nearly halved. And Ethan Osowski is into the pits. Here's an incident that just happened with Lionel Kalisto. We're going to take a look at this. He goes extremely wide out of the inner loop, or the outer loop.
Yeah, and ends up running wide through the ankle of the boot as well onto the marbles. No grip out there. And Fernando Teixeira.
Oh, and live, he just wrecked.
Oh, no.
Little Train has put it in the wall, exiting the boot. I think the tires are gone for him.
I think they are too. It looks like he just absolutely spun the tires coming up and over there. I can tell you that is a very, very easy thing to do. I, as a matter of fact, did that in an official race yesterday and took out a GT3, so I apologize to whoever that was that I took out. But you can see him as he comes up and over, just trying to get the power out, and yep, gets onto full power, and those tires just spun, and it put him right into the wall.
Yeah, he
Actually,
didn't take
DJ
tires at his last pit stop.
Yeah, Reese DJ, I think he actually tapped the brakes a little bit because he was afraid of hitting the back of that GT3, and so that's what ended up sending the rear end around, because the car wants to rotate all the way through that corner. And if you unsettle a little bit, the rear end will overtake the front. That's exactly what happened. But now that we have the car in between Andrew Waring and Eric Smith cleared, now it's up to Andrew Waring to get the gap closed. 4.5 seconds, and he's got about 32 minutes to do it.
Yeah, indeed he does. I've been keeping an eye on this. On that last lap, he's been pretty consistently taking out about 0.8 of a second. Let's see what it is now as he crosses over. Only 0.5 this last time out, and with 30 minutes remaining here, he has got to definitely start to push. Has a little bit of lap traffic in between. That's Jimbo Pfeiffer. There is some slower LMP2 cars up ahead. Jimbo just getting out of the way there for Andrew Waring, but the race is certainly on. Bad news for fans of Arthur Figueredo, a DNF. He did not make it to the 75%. He will not score points here today.
It's such a shame for Arthur, especially with the pace he was showing and the way he was fighting for those top 3 positions earlier on. Well, it's a long season in the majors, and there's plenty of opportunities for him to get those points back.
Yeah, there certainly are, and he'll be hoping to do it. Eric Smith here working his way through a little bit of traffic. Woo, that was a little bit close there with Mark Stevenson, as he has got to try to weave through this as fast as possible. Let's make a quick jump back here to Justin Morton, who's been able to work his way up into 7th position. J-Mo doing a great job on that recovery drive. Remember, he had that incident at the beginning, fell back through the field. To be able to claim a top 10 out of this, Adam, is really impressive.
Yeah, I don't know about make his way up to these positions, but he's definitely been fine inheriting spots from people who've been wrecking out. And that's exactly what he's been doing. He's been driving consistent and quick ever since that first lap incident, and now he's climbed his way up to, as you said, up to 7th position. And so just being consistent, being quick, this is a great recovery drive from him today. He's got 20 seconds up to Fernando Teixeira, so he's got probably not going to make it up to that 6th position, so all he needs to do is just finish today, and he can count that a great recovery drive.
Yeah, indeed. He is actually up 1 on the day from where he started, and considering the start that he had, he has got to take some great solace at that. Be very pleased. You can see him just sighting his way through these final couple of corners here at Watkins Glen. Always love seeing VR users as they're able to use that full field of vision to work their way around.
That's certainly important in the LMP2. It's a very small windscreen in those things, and a very thick A-pillar, as you can see. So certainly the ability to look into corners and look through those side windows, definitely an advantage if you're in VR or running on triples. The LMP2 lead is down to 2.5 seconds. Eric Smith lost a lot of time on the last lap. 1 minute 33.9 was his lap time. Andrew Waring, meanwhile, nearly a 1 minute 32 flat, and they're only separated by a single corner. There's Waring, and if you look up a little further ahead, just at the bottom of the frame, there is Eric Smith. So Andrew Waring on the warpath.
Indeed he is, and we are starting to have those splash and dashes that we talked about for the GT3s starting to fire off here. Nathan Dowd coming down. Christian Challoner has already pitted, so remember we said the GT3s would need one more little bit of fuel to make it to the end. That is what you are seeing them do, but this is the battle to keep an eye on. Now, important to know, on that last lap, Eric Smith able to pull out a 10th over Andrew Waring, so he certainly has some speed when he's not catching up on traffic potentially, but Waring really closing in and putting the bit between his teeth.
Yeah, but anyone who joins us for the Camel GT series knows that consistency and ability to navigate traffic quickly is how you win races when it comes to multi-class, and that's exactly what Andrew Waring is showing. Now he's going to have to navigate Christian Challenger here. Christian's just going to take his normal line, exiting to the outside of the course. Andrew Waring going to duck in underneath and gain 5/10 for doing so, because Eric Smith is about to catch up to some cars up ahead. I think this is where we're going to see the battle come together. It's going to be going up the S's this coming lap, I think.
Yeah, depending on where the dog bearer driver is able to dispatch them. That's Brian Halleck, Brenton Foster, Trevor Hunt that I'm seeing right up ahead.
There we go.
Oh, that's a big, big checkup for Eric Smith. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of time lost in that. He had to really get on the binders.
Andrew Waring with no such issues. He breezes by Brian Halleck on the start-finish straight, and the lead at the line is 1.4 seconds.
So here he comes, and he still has a couple of crucially lapped LMP2 drivers, which means they're going to be a little bit harder to pass than some of those slower GT3s. Gap starting to come down more and more, waiting for them to cross that first sector line. And it looks like Smith was able to pull out about 31 thousandths of a second in clear air. But as you said, Adam, it really all comes down to traffic management.
And the speed that Andrew takes through the inner loop absolutely cuts down tenths off of Eric Smith. And now here we go with Eric Smith tucked in behind Brian Foster and Brenton Foster and Brian McGreevy. They're not battling for position, but Brian McGreevy and Trevor Hunt are battling for position. That's the two leading the two leading LMP2s that are splitting Rob Powers right now. So Eric Smith's got a lot of work to do to try and get by these guys.
This does not look pretty. Rob Powers, whoa! Big checkup on the brakes there for your leader, Eric Smith. That cost him a time. Car off in front. They're able to avoid it. Big dive down to the inside there for Andrew Waring to get by some lap traffic. And now Waring is right up behind him. The gap is under a second.
Let's go. This is fantastic stuff. Waring, he's gone all the way off the circuit there in his efforts to try and carry speed. Eric Smith going for his final pit stop of the night. He shortened that stint a little bit. 19 laps he has completed as a result of that. So Andrew Waring, he's going to have to pit in the next few laps as well. And this is a replay of that. Eric Smith with a huge check up there on the lapped car.
Trevor Hunt spinning out, yeah.
Just absolutely losing control of the car. Those tires probably gone there. I'm watching to see here Eric Smith stationary in his box right now, just waiting for the fuel to get put into that car. Seems like a bit of a long stop, I have to say.
That's a bit concerning. Oh, actually, a reasonably short one there for Eric Smith, 44 seconds. He will certainly have the fuel to get to the end from here on out, but it's going to be crucial here for Andrew Waring. Maybe if he saves a little bit of fuel, he can minimize the time he spends in the box and potentially take the lead from Eric Smith here on pit strategy alone. We're hearing that tires are a bit of a problem as well for Justin Morton. He is having a bit of trouble keeping that thing straight at him.
Absolutely. He's under heavy pressure from Rodrigo Lazowski and Ethan Ozowski as well. The Lazowski and Ozowski folks climbing up behind Morton. Morton just can't keep that thing get good exit speed, and Lazowski thinks better of trying to make a move through the inner loop, but that's going to bring Ozowski back into the battle. Oh, Morton's very loose on the inner loop there.
Oh, he might lose two positions here as round the outside goes Ethan Ozowski and Lusoviski actually clearing the GT reasonably there, but yeah, I think it's all over there for Justin Morton. And he has been plugging away fantastically.
Reese, the track temperature's up to 106 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the hottest it's been all day, and for Justin Morton, who's trying to double stint these tires, that cannot be a good feeling.
Oh, no, certainly not. There's those tires will be feeling mighty greasy at the moment for Justin, and you can see he's really struggling to get the good exits that he needs. So, yeah, I'm not too sure whether or not he'll decide to take tires in this final stop. He'd end up costing himself even more time, and he might fall to the rear of the LMP2 cars on the lead lap. He's still got Lionel Callisto and Vincent L'Herbier behind him to deal with.
But this is a great little battle. This is Lazowski, and that's going to be Lazowski taking a big dive down to the inside of the 90, gets the car woed up and gets it off. But here comes Rodrigo Lazowski looking for that draft. He may have judged that a little bit wrong. I think he had to check himself up through the S's, but now he's being able to get full effect of it. That's Ryan Steele up ahead of the GT3. That's going to complicate things just a little bit. Here they come going down into the inner loop. It's not going to be enough for Lazowski to be able to fight back.
Lazowski does not like taking the move into the inner loop. I don't think he's confident that he could pull it off. And Lazowski has never had a problem with taking that move in the inner loop, so he feels very confident diving it down in there. Benefit to Lazowski right now, 5/10 ahead. Lazowski starting to fall back.
Indeed, he is, and Morton really off the pace of these drivers. Lazowski just trying to see if there's anything he can do to be able to catch up on him, but looks like he is going to have to work his way around Mark Stevenson there. He's still within a couple of tenths of a second, so this battle may not be done and dusted quite yet.
It's all ebb and flow here in multi-class racing. The next bit of GT3 traffic could certainly define this battle. Lisovisky, he's trying his best to stay within. Oh, there we go. Zachary Brown taking the racing line. That compromised Ethan Osowski slightly, but Rodrigo going a little deep into the final corner. That equals things out. Andrew Waring, quite a ways ahead of these guys. We can expect him to come into the pits very soon. He's approaching the end of his 22nd lap on this stint, and yeah, he'll certainly have to make it home on an extra stop here. That could definitely be an issue in his battle with Eric Smith for the overall race lead.
Indeed it could as we watch this. This is Lazowski again tucked up behind in the draft. He's a little bit too far back. He just keeps misjudging that distance coming through the 90. And Adam, you know, coming up through there, obviously, you know, it's a part of the NASCAR schedule, but making that run coming up from the 90 down into the inner loop, it's almost like trying to judge a run on an oval. It's not about just outright speed. It's really all about timing where you get the power down.
Yeah, all about timing indeed, as we see Tom Abramitis come in for what we presume is his final pit stop of the night with 20 minutes to go. And yeah, you're 100% right there, DJ. The fact that it really is all about timing. The S's are a bit of a choke point, you know. The left-hander, you have to lift off through there in most cars. Sometimes it's flat out in the LMP2s on their own and flat out in the GT3s, but if you're negotiating traffic, then that's a very different story. Andrew Waring having a bit of trouble with lap traffic here as he makes his way past Jason Wallet. Did let him go coming into the heel of the boot. But Waring looking a little impatient. He's thinking about timing. He's thinking about his fuel. He's thinking about his battle with Eric Smith. Does he bring it into the lane as he ends his 23rd lap?
He might, but speaking of timing, it looks like Rodrigo Lazowski got it woed up just about right. Now that's Brent Kirby right up ahead of him, and that's going to scupper him. Now, he's lifting and coasting. He is lifting and coasting, saving a lot of fuel. Reese, is there a world in which Lazowski's trying to not stop here to the end of the race?
That's impossible. He's not going to be able to do it. He's on the 17th lap of his stint right now. Maximum he can do with fuel saving is 24, maybe 25 laps as Andrew Waring brings it into the lane. Oh, goodness me, that's looking pretty tight. Just up ahead, a bit of lapped LMP2 traffic for Osowski and Lisovisky. He manages to keep out of the way of those GT3s, but Andrew Waring at a standstill in the pit lane. I would expect this to be fuel only. He is out. Where on earth is Eric Smith? He's just crossing the line now. This is going to be close here for the lead, but it looks like Waring is just going to come out ahead.
Just barely ahead.
Yeah, it's very close, DJ. I think that Waring's got the advantage, though. That being said, it's Eric Smith with the momentum, with the practice on these laps, and Andrew Waring's gonna have to absolutely send it here through the inner loop.
He is indeed, and as the kids say, the race here is on for P1 as they get themselves going. You see Ozzy Milwane coming out of the pits in 6th place. His stop completed. We are still waiting on Carter Kundinger and Fernando Teixeira to make their stops up ahead, in which case that will promote Andrew Waring into the lead of this race.
What a drive it has been from Andrew Waring. As I said before, a perfect blend of caution and aggression, and it's certainly his hell for leather approach to the inner loop that has partially contributed to that. He has shown no fear whatsoever of those curbs.
No, he is not, being very, very aggressive, and that gap back to Smith is about 1.9 seconds. We're going to have to keep an eye here as they work their way around, see if Waring is able to keep himself clean with traffic. He gets himself by Ray Partridge right there as they continue to work their way around. Only 16 and a half minutes here to go at the 2 hours of the Glen.
Absolutely, and Waring's going to have to work his way past Teixeira on pace because Teixeira's got another 5 laps he could probably run. Well, maybe 4 laps he could run here. So that's going to take him quite a ways into this race. So Andrew Waring's got some work to do on track.
He manages to get by Nathan Dowd on the way into the inner loop, and he's going to have some lap traffic ahead of him here. Wayne Hutchison, number 17 in the Dog Bear LMP2. Will he make it easy here for Andrew Waring? Any kind of compromising that Andrew Waring has to do will be a big disadvantage in his battle with Smith.
It will indeed, but thus far on this lap, he has been able to gain about 0.7 of a second over Eric Smith, just slicing his way through traffic. We check back in on that battle for P7. This is Lazowski. Now, remember, our eagle-eyed viewers, we are suspecting that Lazowski is stretching this stint out. He clearly has the pace, but he is clutching and coasting behind Azowski here and really doing a good job of trying to stretch that fuel as long as it will go.
Osowski is going to have to go for a splash and dash in maybe the final 6 or 7 minutes. So even if Lisavitsky pits, it's probably not going to affect the battle all that much. He doesn't have to put all that much in the car either. I'm wondering who's going to come out on top in that battle, but Rodrigo, it's been a magnificent fight through the field for him. He is up 20 positions from where he started, and that's all through keeping the car clean and staying out of trouble.
Indeed, it's all about that trouble mitigation here. Under 15 minutes to go. We still expect a couple of drivers to pop down pit lane. So the battles here currently aren't necessarily the way they're going to end up.
Looking like the LMP2 lead battle has extended somewhat. Eric Smith hasn't had as good luck with traffic as Andrew Waring has. The number 3 making his way by traffic very cleanly, very quickly as well. And Waring is continuing to chip away at Fernando Teixeira here in the lead. Waring a bit slower on the last lap than Teixeira was, but you can tell he certainly has the pace. That is the visual gap for the LMP2 lead right there. Eric Smith just popping into the picture there.
And that
Kevin
gap...
Hill DJ in from 2nd position in the GT3s, so he's going to give up 2nd to Mark Stevenson, who has yet to pit as well.
Interesting, yeah, that he's going to have to come in there.
Splash and dash.
Yeah.
I mean, we're expecting that for the majority of our GT3 traffic, but Mark Stevenson has only completed 1 stop so far, so that's going to be quite the run for him, even with the issues that he has suffered throughout this race. Stevenson behind or ahead of one of his Forge Racing teammates. They're coming into the inner loop. It's been a pretty good drive from a lot of drivers in this field tonight, as I'm seeing Tom Abramitis and Ozzy Milwane. They're showing up as a battle on my timing, and they are looking mighty close as they come up through the S's, just negotiating Kevin Hill, who has just come out of the pits. And now we've got 2 battles on in LMP2. Actually 3. Brian McGreevy and Justin Kirby, a lap down, are fighting as well.
Indeed, and I was just checking this battle out myself, being very aggressive with the curbs. There is Tom Abramitis. But yeah, both of these drivers have given us their final pit stop, so they should be on and ready to race here. Milwain trying to close down. It looks a little bit like that Milwain is a lot faster. I think Abramitis may have made a mistake on the last lap. He lost about 1.8 seconds out to Ozzy Milwain, and that has put him right into contention.
Oh. Andrew Waring just had an issue with Zachary Brown, actually. He was just apologizing on the radio over it. Andrew ends up washing out a little bit into Zachary and makes contact into the heel of the boot, I believe, and sends Zachary Brown around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, indeed. That was very close to Andrew Waring getting wiped out by the spinning BMW. Looked to me like Waring, he moved over to the left back onto the racing line a little too early. We'll get the view on board from the BMW here as Waring blasts by and, yeah, squeezed him. Oh, slight tap.
Yeah, Andrew Waring, very, very lucky that there was not more damage to that car at all, but able to get back and going. And I think for Waring, he will be very, very happy that he did not get a reverse punt from behind there. As we continue to watch here, drivers working their way around, closing down, 10 minutes to go. Again, we expect Carter Cunninger, Fernando Teixeira, as well as Rodrigo Lazowski owing us a pit stop here. Potentially Justin Morton as well.
Carter coming up to the end of his 23rd lap on this stint of fuel. So remains to be seen whether he'll bring it into the lane this lap or whether he's fuel saving to try and extend it. No, there we go. Into the pits comes Carter Cunninger. And Fernando Teixeira, we can expect, will be out for another lap at least.
All right, so we'll have to keep an eye where Carter will come out. I anticipate him probably coming out around 6th or 7th position, somewhere in that general area. As we watch the 82 there, Fernando Teixeira, your de facto leader. There is Eric Smith. A gap between himself and Andrew Waring has grown out to about 2.8 seconds, so Waring doing a good job of keeping that nice and big.
And that is fuel only, of course, for Carter. Very short stop here just to get him through the final 10 minutes of this race. We are now in the end stages.
So Carter's coming out right in front of the battle between Tom Abramitis and Ozzy Milwain. And so this will give a little bit of a boost of the draft for Tom Abramitis, who's within a second of Carter Cunninger as they climb up towards the inner loop.
Indeed it will, and that battle has been seesawing back and forth, just sector by sector. Abramitis getting a 10th here, Milwain getting a 10th there. It really and truly is a back and forth fight, and nothing seems to be established quite yet. Abramitis now will have a little bit of a carrot up in front of him to be able to go. We continue to watch there. That's Rodrigo Lazowski. Remember, we were saying he's trying to fuel save as much as possible, minimize the amount of fuel he has got to put into the tank.
It's lap 23 for him, and he'll be getting great draft benefit from Ethan Osowski up ahead. That's certainly going to help him lift and coast into the braking zones as Andrew Waring makes the pass on Fernando Teixeira, as Teixeira has made it into the pit lane. He made it 23 laps on that stint. So it is now full on between Andrew Waring and Eric Smith for the overall win here at Watkins Glen. There's 4.3 seconds between them, and I don't know if Eric Smith can make up that gap in the final 8.5 minutes unless Andrew Waring has trouble with traffic.
Indeed, it looks like it is going to be his race to lose, but as we have seen in this race, just about anything can happen. Oh, Ozzy Milwain has a really good run on Tom Abramitis here as they work their way up through the S's. Milwain just tucking behind in that draft. I think here is the move we have been waiting for out of that 14 machine. He's going to have to go the long way around the bus stop, but he's going to try for it. No, he's going to back off. Big chunk of the curb for both drivers.
That was a good decision there from Tom Abramitis to go defensive out of the S's. It broke any slipstream for Aussie Milwain and stalled his run. But Aussie is starting to dial up the aggression here. I can't imagine what's going through Tom Abramitis' head right now. You know, you've got an awful lot to consider in multi-class racing. How long is it until I come up to the next GT3? But having to look over your shoulder at every single corner, Milwain is on fire right now.
Indeed, and Adam, this is all about that mental pressure we always like to talk about as they go through. Very, very good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of pressure right now on Abramitis, but he's definitely has the experience to get it done. He gets held up a little bit by Rob Powers. This is a good opportunity for Milwain. He's got a good run. He almost clips the inside curbing. A decent run out of the final corner. They've got Brian McGreevy, Brian Halleck, and Carter Kundinger to deal with up here. I don't think this is an opportunity for Milwain now. Oh my goodness, this becomes an opportunity for Abramitis as Halleck takes the brakes early. Here comes Milwain with a good run.
Milwain going to try that again. They're going to have Brian McGreevy up the road from them, but look how close he is. I think he had to check himself up slightly through the S's. That draft from Brian McGreevy in front could be helping Tom Abramitis, but Milwain tries to get to the inside here, but didn't exactly work. There, he's going to go for it. He's got to be later on the brakes, and he is! Ozzie Milwain up into 4th place.
Great move there, was helped a little bit by Abramitis backing out, but Milwain, he's got 2 lots of traffic to deal with, LMP2 and GT3. Threading the needle there is Abramitis. Ryan Steele and Brian McGreevy, all they can do is watch on as this battle continues.
Indeed, as they work their way around. Ozzie Milwain now is going to try to have to pull away a little bit. He's got Dick Muller right up ahead of him to try to get by and get clear with, it looks like Christian Challoner also up the road. Little bit of a compromised exit into the corner there for Tom Abramitis. That's going to hurt him a little bit as they get up and get going. That'll help Ozzie Milwain to the tune of a couple of tenths of a second.
Oh man, these battles are actually quite close. We still have the battle between Osowski and Lisovisky working itself out. Lisovisky, he's coming up to the end of the 25th lap of this stint, and we haven't seen any drivers go over 25 laps, but have a look at how much fuel saving Lisovisky has done. He's going to go for a 26th lap on this stint.
There's no way he can make it to the end of the race, can he? I mean, that's another 2-3 laps possibly for Lisovisky. That's a long way to go.
Yeah, well, we'll ride on board and have a listen to him, see what he does coming into the inner loop, negotiating the traffic here. I'm listening to his engine note here. Yeah, listen to that. Right on the clutch coming into the braking zone. There's some problems there for Osowski, a little bit of lap traffic for him. I believe that is Brian McGreevy, and he's going to make way for both of them on the run into the ankle of the boot. Yeah, this is properly borderline for Rodrigo Lisovisky here. I mean, with the amount of fuel saving he's done, I cannot see him getting to the end without an ever so slight splash.
Well, I can't either, Reese, but we have seen crazier things happen in the majors, and it may just be that Rodrigo has got something to prove here. If he does, he would come home in a very, very respectable 7th place position, just doing a lot of lifting and coasting.
Gap for the LMP2 lead has gone down as well, Adam, it seems.
Yeah, it looks like Eric Smith has some decent speed on Andrew Waring. He's closed up in the last couple of laps. There you can see just in the last lap alone, 1.5 seconds. So I don't know whether Andrew picked up some damage, but he's definitely starting to slow a little bit. And Eric Smith starting to close the gap.
And finally, Rodrigo Lisovisky brings it into the pit lane. Wow, that's proper hero stuff, that kind of stint from Rodrigo.
Oh, Justin Morton too.
Yeah.
His 33-second stop was not long enough.
Nah, that's unfortunate there for Justin Morton. So those guys are going to fall behind ever so slightly. That was a very quick pit stop for Rodrigo, only 7 seconds, just enough fuel to make it through the final couple of minutes, but he shouldn't lose any positions out of that.
And
apart from Fernando Ferreira, of course.
Right. Well, and there you see Justin, just the splashiest of splash and dashes there for him. You can see him waiting to flick off that pit speed limiter. There he goes, and there he is back on it as he is able to get going, get back out on track. Justin Morton will be deposited back into 9th position. As we get the call here, 2 to go for Andrew Waring. Another 3/10 taken out by Eric Smith from behind him. Not nearly as substantial as we've seen on those previous 2 laps, Adam, but may be a little bit of a warning sign there for Andrew Waring.
Absolutely. I don't think that Eric Smith has enough to catch up to him, but if Andrew Waring runs into any sort of trouble, this could really hurt Eric Smith, so we'll have to keep our eyes out as Andrew was able to pull another 2/10 just that time around. Oh, so touch and go for them. 5th place, I can report in GT3, has swapped hands between Dick Mueller and Brian Halleck, and Justin Morton has lost 9th position to Lionel Callisto, having just come out of the pits. So Justin Morton and Lionel Callisto is a battle to keep your eyes on as well.
It is indeed, and there you see it on your screen. And remember, J-Mo did not take tires at any point there, so that car is going to be struggling. I hate to say it, but I've got to think that he is going to have a very, very hard time catching up to Little Train there with just as worn as those rear tires are.
Yeah, that car is slithering from corner to corner as Callisto makes his way past a lapped car. That's Brent Kirby making way for them, and Kirby is carrying a bit of damage to his front left, so that car not having much in the way of pace. Brent is a position up from where he started though, so at least there's some profit coming out of tonight.
And Andrew Waring got held up onto the white flag lap by Zachary Brown, so Eric Smith now within a second. He's going to have to do everything possible to try and make it up to the back of Andrew Waring. They've got Trevor Hunt in their own class up ahead, and then Mark Stevenson they're going to have to pass this lap.
All right, so this is where Eric Smith is going to need a mega run. That gap is coming down. It's now under 0.8 of a second as he starts to feel the effect of the draft. Here they come. He's not going to be close enough to make the move here, but it's now hovering at about 0.6 of a second, as we've seen him do time and time again. Andrew Waring just absolutely clobbering the curves. Gap holding at about 0.7 now. Starting to come down a little bit here. Who's this going to be?
Eric Smith will be dialing up the aggression here in the final lap. Look at the gap coming down. He's just taking hundredths, thousandths of a seconds out of him on every single corner exit. And it looks like Mark Stevenson might just define this finish here. They'll be coming up to him in the final couple of corners. Waring should make the move on him coming out of the boot here, but Eric Smith, he might just get held up.
Gets held up a little bit. I'm riding on board with Andrew Waring as he comes through these final 2 corners. Doesn't look like fuel is going to be an issue for the number 3. One more corner to go for Andrew Waring. He takes it out, navigates, and weaves back and forth with excitement as Andrew Waring takes victory here at the 2 hours of the Glen. Eric Smith putting on a heck of a show to come in behind him. That gap at the end, only 0.6 of a second. And Christian Challoner, well, he's got about a lap to go, but we might as well call it for him because he has got a 27-second advantage over the closest driver.
I'm not going to put the commentator's curse on Christian here. So
Mark Stevenson crossed the line behind our LMP2 leaders, so Christian Challoner has got a lap over the rest of the field. Even if something happens to him here on the final lap, he's not going to be in danger for this victory, I think.
I think you're right, Christian, doing an absolutely stellar job, and I can report that Carter Kundinger was able to round out your podium in the LMP2 field. So that is 1, 2, 3 there as Christian Challoner bringing it through that third to last corner for the final time. Up and over and around. Able to bring it back here. 2 more corners to go. Challoner doing Challoner things. 1 more corner here for your reigning champion. And again, Christian Challoner, it is almost getting old to say, will take victory here in the GT3 category.
And Nick Ottinger, who would have been in second had he not had that wreck, comes across the line in 14th just behind his teammate Christian Challoner.
Well, that's going to lead us to a quick break here on GSRC, but don't go anywhere because we will be back with the unofficial finishing order as well as interview with your podium finishers. So stick around. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel. We just saw a fantastic end to the 2 hours of the Glen presented by the Majors, and it was Andrew Waring taking victory in that LMP2 class, fending off a very, very last-minute assault from Eric Smith with Carter Cundinger rounding out your podium. It was Ozzie Milwane in P4, followed by Tom Abramitis with Ethan Lazowski and Fernando Texiera in P7. Rodrigo Lazowski with an absolutely mega fuel-safe stint was able to come home in P8, followed by Lionel Castillo and Justin Morton rounding out your top 10. Adam?
Yeah, then we got Vincent LaHerbier, who comes home in 11th position with Nick Kuhn in 12th. And we got Justin Kirby, who's going to finish in 13th today with Trevor Hunt in 14th position. Wayne Hutchison in 15th with Brian McGreevy 16th. Scott Corbin finishing in 17th position, 2 laps down. Brett Kirby in 18th. Aaron Roofs in 19th. And William Fletcher rounding out your top 20.
In 21st, it was Lynn Kinchelow, 3 laps down ahead of Jason Wallet, with Joey Haynes and Brenton Foster bringing up the end of your LMP2s above the GT3s. And the only DNFs in this race were those 4 LMP2s you see down there at the bottom of the screen. Figueredo, Daniel Johnson, Austin Espity, and Liam Quinn. A big shame for those guys, but hey, at a DJ, it was anything but frenetic for Christian Challoner.
Indeed, Challoner able to take another victory here, followed by Mark Stevens in P2 and Kevin Hill in P3. Nathan Dowd took P4 in that GT3 class, and Dick Muller rounds out your top 5. Brian Barnes was in 6, followed by Brian Halleck with Jimbo Pfeiffer, Ray Partridge, and Jeff Schmeier rounding out your top 10, Reese.
Yes, and the final cars in GT3, Ryan Steele and Rob Powers coming home on the same lap. It was a further lap behind for Jonathan Medeiros. Nick Ottinger, well, he crossed the line just behind his winning teammate, but it was a very unfortunate race for him. He could have been second were it not for the big wreck early on, and Zachary Brown, 21 laps down. That rounds out our field, and now we'll go to interviews.
Indeed, and the first one up is our winner, Andrew Waring. And Andrew, I've got to ask you, at the end there, were you sweating a little bit with that attack coming in from Eric?
I mean, my nerves were already pretty shot from the way the race started, but I was kind of nervous that the race would go another lap. So for the last 3 laps, I had the 4-second gap that I built up. So I just figured, let's try and burn it in case it does. But then when I saw it didn't, unfortunately, got held up behind some choice lap cars, and he got really close. But I don't know. I felt like I could have probably done something if he attacked. So It was a good race, that's for sure.
Well, it's a good race indeed. And I mean, you mentioned there fuel saving. We saw a lot of sort of varying strategies out there through the day. Were you changing up your idea at all in terms of how you were going to be running those pit cycles, or were you running exactly as the plan that you laid down from the beginning?
No, definitely not. I mean, I didn't expect to be get caught up in that wreck out of the bus stop in lap 1. So originally, I had some pretty severe damage, but I just had to tough it out on the first stint. I pitted with like 3 laps earlier than I thought I would, just to get the fresh car and try and do the undercut on the guys I was stuck behind, and it worked. And then I knew as soon as we were past the halfway point, no matter what I did, if I saved tires and the last stint was going to be shorter, I just knew the tire was fine. So not too bad. I definitely got nervous when I saw a couple of those guys almost go to like lap 6 to go and still not pit. So
Yeah, they were making us sweat a little bit as well.
yeah.
We weren't sure what that strategy was, but Andrew, we head to Daytona next time in the next gen. Speaking of damage, how do you think that's going to go for you?
I mean, statistically, I don't have the best finishing record at Daytona in the 2 years I've done majors, but I don't know. I've got my eyes a bit bigger this year in terms of the championship opposed to race to race. So I'm just going to see what I can do and hopefully finish the race. I know Christian will be good there, and a lot of other guys will be good there. So I'll probably just be a field filler.
Well, regardless, we wish you the best of luck, Andrew. Anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here today?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We got Evolve Sim Sports as the team, and we've got a bunch of great sponsors with Trenco Machines, Direct Innovations, Maradness Clothing, and then Apex V2R. Honestly, the Majors Garage, we kind of discovered that the setup on that was really good the last minute, and the whole team, we've added a lot of new force to our pro team this year, and it's working out really well. So, and everybody at the Majors and you guys at GSRC.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. That was your winner here, Andrew Waring. And now, Adam, I believe you have caught up with our victor in the GT3 category, Mr. Christian Challoner.
Absolutely, Christian. I mean, aside from that early battle you had right at the start of the race, I mean, it seemed like you just walked away from these guys today. How do you have so much speed in that Porsche today?
I mean, there was a decent amount of time in it, I think. So predominantly with the setup wise, spent a lot of time actually speaking to Dallas Pataska on this one. So he ran the Porsche in Europe, had some pretty good feedback on whether he was going to be able to make this the one-stop strategy work that Mark Stevenson did. And pretty much the conclusion that we came to was that the answer was no, not really, not comfortably. So pretty much right from the go, myself and Nick there we were committed to just trying to build about a 29-second gap, because that's what we figured out we would need by the end of the race, and how it would sort of work out versus the one-stop strategy. And that was really the plan. So it's just really full pace from the beginning, really. But yeah, really good car. Dallas put together a pretty good base setup there. I tweaked on it a bit last night. Kind of gave me a point to shoot for, I think, in the qualifying, and that was quite good fun. So yeah. Shout out to him. Shout out to Nick for kind of running me pretty good in the race there. There was quite a long time where me and him were very, very similar pace, and I'd said to him pre-race actually, because he was worried that he wasn't going to be quick enough. And I was like, look, when you're actually in amongst the pack and everything, you're gonna get it figured out pretty quickly. And I knew that would happen, so I was trying to get away at the beginning so that I would have a gap to him when he did get it figured out. I'm pretty unfortunate for him. I know he got together with a prototype in the bus stop, and that ruined what would have been a 1-2 for us. So that sucked. But yeah, it was pretty much just a case of try and build that 29-second gap and hope that at the end it was enough, and it was. And the Porsche is my favorite GT3, so that helped as well.
So, being the smaller in the smaller class today, with only 15 GT3s versus the 27 LMP2s, how was it in the multi-class being in a class that was so much smaller than the faster class today?
I mean, not great, if I'm totally honest. There was obviously a lot of prototypes out there, and certainly after we kind of got through the first little bit of the race where we were on our own, it was very much trying to figure out the best way to get everybody, especially through the bus stop and then into the boot, get through that section cleanly with all the prototypes and whatnot. I would kind of preferred if the balance was the opposite way around. That number of GTs, well, the number of prototypes that we had as GT cars, and kind of, lesser number of prototypes. I pretty much feel like that would have been better. But obviously the league runs a policy that it doesn't really force car splits, and they kind of happen naturally. And it just turned out, I guess, that not that many people in pro wanted to run GT3s this round, which was a shame. Obviously a big fan of the class. It's pretty much my thing. So that was a bit sad to see. Hopefully that won't be true when we come back to another multi-class race. And there was some guys who I think in Sportsman GT3 who would have probably actually enhanced the pro race. They had pretty good pace. They would have certainly fought it out in the top 5.
Well, Christian, next week, in about 3 weeks' time, we head over to the Daytona 500. Now, what are you thinking heading into that round? And do you think there's going to be any adjustments to the next-gen cars before we hit Daytona coming speed weeks?
The question that I can't really answer.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I just can't answer it really. But in terms of the event itself, obviously, kind of it's again another strategy play. We know that pitting as a group, as a team on that one, and kind of nailing the pit cycles to get yourself to the front as, say, a group of 4 is going to be really, really important. So that's probably going to be our play again, that we'll try and form up all 4 of us, and we'll try and make sure that we execute our pit stops better than everybody else and try and get to the head of the line.
Well, Christian, congratulations on the win, and looks like you're off on your winning form again for the Major Series, and we look forward to seeing you at the Daytona 500.
Thanks.
That was Christian Challenger, our winner in the GT3 class, and we have Eric Smith, who's going to be talking to Reese Gardner, and he's come in from the LMP2 second place.
Indeed, he has. Welcome, Eric, and congratulations on the second place. It was pole position for you, and certainly at the start of the race, that worked out for you.
Ooh, yeah, I'm more out. We had a really good start, and I was hoping to just ride that all the way through. We were able to control our race for most of it, and then Andrew kind of showed up out of nowhere in the last quarter and just outdrove us.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way. What was your approach then in the final stint after that final pit stop? Because we did notice that Andrew was slowing down, and he did say that he was attempting to get the race to go a lap less than was projected. So did you feel like you had a chance for victory in that stage?
Well, now that I'm hearing that he was slowing down on purpose, maybe I didn't really have a chance. But yeah, I was having some bad luck with traffic there at the end, so I couldn't quite catch it. But then it came back around my way, and that we were able to close up on him on the last lap. And I wanted one more lap, but man, it would have been a good race.
Well, it certainly was a good race from our perspective, Eric, and we wish you the best of luck for Daytona. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for your podium tonight?
Just the guys at V Apex and Dog Bear. I'm scoring points for them this year, so shout out to Dog Bear.
Shout out to Dog Bear, indeed. Very good result for that team. Next driver that we're going to be getting in is our second place finisher in GT3, Mark Stevenson, on that one-stop strategy, DJ.
Indeed, and I guess first and foremost, Mark, talk me through doing that one stop and the mentality behind that.
Well, kind of funny. We decided to do that during practice for the actual practice attached to the race, because we were gonna just go for it, and then I noticed there was some people doing some things in the practice that made me think that they weren't going to be fuel saving. So I was like, do you know what? Let's take the contrarian approach and fuel save. We'll do the one stop and see where it lands us. And honestly, second is as good as I'm going to get against Christian. That's his car. It's definitely not mine. And I'm pretty happy with the result. I think the fuel saving helped on tires for sure. Didn't really feel like it was dropping off too bad. So a couple little mistakes there, maybe saved by the smaller field in GT3 because of it. But at the end of the day, happy to take home the points and happy to mix it up with Kevin Hill and the rest of them. It was a good race.
Well, it looked like a good race, and it looked like some pretty respectful stuff from the LMP2s. But how did you find the traffic out there, and how did you find this new updated Watkins Glen circuit?
I like it. We were talking about it the other night and saying how it kind of adds a new challenge to Watkins Glen because it hadn't been updated in quite a while. I'm not super happy with the toe. That's probably one corner I don't like, and then at the top of the boot on the top of the back of the boot, I guess. But I've never liked that corner anyway. But regarding the traffic, it was fine for the most part. There was a couple drivers out there that were getting pretty aggressive and kind of sending it down inside, and then you just kind of saw their names on relative and you knew what you were going to get into. But for the most part, I've had no issues at all with traffic. It was pretty good. And actually, the two little collisions that I had, I think were all my fault. So sorry to those guys, and just got it on the grass a little bit. So all in all, kind of uncomfortable now because I've got a lucky horseshoe up my butt, I think, getting second, but it was a good race.
Well, a good race is a good race no matter how you slice it, Mark. And anybody you'd like to thank for it here today?
Honestly, the team, I think we've come into this season more prepared than we've ever been, and that's thanks to all the guys on the team and everybody kind of getting on the same page and driving the same car. So thanks to all of those guys. Thanks to you guys for an amazing broadcast every week that we're out here, and Mike and everybody else, and John, our departed John, who helped me get into all this in the beginning. So thank you for him.
Well, thank you, Mark. That was your second place finisher here in the GT3 category. And now I believe, Adam, you have caught up with Carter Kundinger.
Absolutely, Carter. You had a very interesting race with yourself and Ethan Azowski and Fernando Texiera for a good half of the race. And talk to me about battling, especially through all the traffic that you were dealing with throughout this race and battling with those guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, this race was kind of crazy. You know, I mean, you guys definitely know me from the Autobahn series the past few years. So coming over to this since Autobahn's not with GSRC anymore, because I missed you guys. But no, I mean, the traffic was nuts. You know, especially at the beginning of the race. You know, I kind of had a feeling that those guys were gonna try and go for moves, and I think a little bit of frustration came in when I think Ethan was just kind of diving at every single possibility. I was like, dude, I'm just trying to follow Tom in front of me, and so that was kind of annoying. But you know, I'm like, whatever, if you're just gonna go for the move, I'll let you go. But you know, I knew I was gonna get it at the end anyways, and yeah, I mean, really, the key to tonight was just staying out of as much as I could. I just had one minor spin coming off of the turn one exit curb, which I'm a little frustrated by that, but that's just kind of how the curb is, and it's just one of those. I mean, you're taking a chance every time you step on that curb. So yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, just stayed out of everything, and really happy with a P3. I definitely did not expect to step on the podium tonight.
Well, yeah, it's great to have you up here in the P3 in the major series. It's a very tough thing to do, especially with such a big class. But talk to me about how you felt about the newly profiled Watkins Glen, because it's the first time we've raced it here on the major series.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely update, or it's definitely needed. This is the update that I think almost everyone on the iRacing service has been waiting for, and it's really nice. There's a lot of parts I like about it. There's also a lot of parts I don't like about it. One of those being, well, the exit curb coming out of one, and then the bus stop. I just feel like, as someone who enjoys simulators, obviously, because I do iRacing, like, it feels weird to cut the bus stop as much as you can and basically have, like, the fast line in this LMP2 was to go airborne over that first curb in the bus stop. So that gets me a little uneasy, but yeah, I mean, honestly, the rescan, it's so good. I mean, it's, you know, it's got the right amount of runoff, and the curbs are really nice to drive over, and yeah, I mean, this is exactly what iRacing needed. It's fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to more races on this track.
Well, Carter, congratulations on that third place finish. We look forward to seeing you at Daytona. Is there anyone else you want to thank before we leave you tonight?
Yeah, no, I honestly just got to thank all the guys at Tabula Rasa Esports. Couldn't get any of them to come over and do the majors with me, but they're still there supporting me during these races. And then, it was fun to race everyone tonight. Whether I had issues with them or not, if this is the first race, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season here.
Well, we definitely are too, Carter, and we look forward to seeing you racing some more, and good luck at Daytona.
Thanks, Adam.
That was Carter Kundinger, third place in the LMP2s. And last but not least, we're talking to Kevin Hill, who finished third in the GT3s. He's with Reese.
He is indeed. Welcome, Kevin. Congratulations on your podium. It was a second place start for you. It certainly got frenetic at the start there. You were leading a massive train.
Yeah, I went into this race just trying to survive. I knew I had pretty good pace, and I was hoping I could run up front. Obviously knew I wasn't going to have anything probably for Challenger, but the start was a little bit crazy. My whole goal was to just keep it clean. The international and the European races seemed a bit sloppy, and so really just managing traffic and making sure there was no self-inflicted errors, which I feel like I did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like staying out of trouble was the deal. Were you always intending to go for that two-stop strategy, or were you thinking about fuel saving along the way?
I felt like I obviously was going to go. If fuel save came to me, I was going to take it, but I wasn't going to actively try and fuel save. I tried to do it in practice, and the pace that I would have to give up was just too great. So I was going to let the race come. If there was somebody that I could get behind and get tow and save that way, I was going to do that, but it didn't really. The field got spread out as soon as the LMPs came through, and so once that happened around lap 8, I knew I just needed to run with pace, and it was going to be a two-stopper.
Well, nonetheless, it's still a great result for you and a very good points haul, and Daytona will certainly be another good opportunity for you. But before we let you go, Kevin, is there anyone you'd like to thank from Evolve Sim Sports?
Yeah, sure. Love to just thank the team. We've got a couple of folks that promoted from sportsman into pro, and one of them finished P5 today, so that's really strong, or P4. And then our sponsors, Tranco, Direct Innovations, and Muradness Gloves. Then obviously thanks to GSRC and Mike and the competition committee and everybody that puts the work in behind the scenes. This is a really good series. I think this is my 5th or 6th year, so it's really enjoyable.
Very enjoyable for us up here in the comms box as well. That's Kevin Hill, third place in GT3. DJ, what a night of racing it was.
What a night of racing indeed, and the majors putting their stake to being one of the best series on the sim. But unfortunately, that's about going to wrap things up for us here on the Global Sim Racing channel. But before we go, we once again want to thank our charity for tonight, the National MS Society. Be sure to check them out. There will be multiple charities throughout the course of the year. One of the great things that the Majors Series does. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. An additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Reese, and Joe, and Dougie. You can find out more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on your screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below just to make things easy for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Well, the next race here on the channel, that is going to be the PRL GT Pro Series taking on Spa and Silverstone. And that will be tomorrow, Monday at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time. You also heard us mention the next time the majors take to the track. That will be Sunday, February 6th, and they will be taking to Daytona in the Next Gen Cup cars. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.